Ladies and gentlemen, the 12 o'clock hour here in California is upon us. Welcome to this session. Over the last few days, I connected with our workshop leader today. And I told her, I'm an engineer with all those stereotypical traits and limitations that implies. And I grew up well before social media was even invented. Initially, I have to confess, I thought social media was one word, and I wondered if it was a virus. A little bit more seriously, I have always been intimidated by social media. For me, this session today is a particularly exciting and relevant session. And I hope that all of you on this Zoom call meeting have the same anticipation that I have. Today, I know that I will learn a lot. Now, let me introduce you to our keynote speaker by first asking you a few questions. Do you want to attract new members to your club? Have you ever wondered how social media can help fill your new member funnel? Would you like to know how to quickly and easily spread the word about how much value you can get from your Toastmasters membership? If you have answered yes to any of these questions, then you're in the right place. Our speaker is on a mission to share her time-tested secrets to evangelizing Toastmasters in just minutes each month through personal branding online. Sima is a founding member of the Viewmasters Club. She is a distinguished Toastmaster, and she is just one of 89 people to have earned the accredited speaker designation. Even more impressive, she is also just one of the 3 women in the world to also have the Certified Speaking Professional credential, an honor bestowed upon her by the National Speakers Association. When she's not speaking, training, or consulting for Fortune 1000 clients, you'll find her on a road bike, a pair of skis, or rocking out at a concert. Showing you how to be the Chief Marketing Officer of your club, please join me in warmly welcoming from our downtown Chicago home office, speaker, trainer, and ever hopeful Bears fan, Sima Dahl, with an interactive presentation, Raise Your Sway Factor, social media to grow your club. Over to you, Sima.
Thank you, Declan, for that warm and well-paced introduction. This is not your first rodeo. Will I be spotlighted? Is there a Zoom master, or should I instruct people to pin me? I'm not sure how that's working.
You're spotlighted. You're good.
Okay, it's not happening on my end, so no worries. Let me just move a few things on my screen. It's always exciting here in Zoom land. My name is pronounced Sima with a short I, unlike Declan's version, which he said Sima. I want you to forget Sima, which is a popular and beautiful Middle Eastern Indian name. But my name is Sima, and perhaps if for those of you who can see my picture, you might have guessed I'm not from Middle Eastern Indian descent. It's a funny story about my name, but not one that adds value to your day, and that's why I'm here. So this may not be the perfect Toastmasters talk. It is one, I hope, will give you some ideas on how to use your fingertips and your keyboard to grow your club. So let's begin. Now, I am going to ask you to use the chat, and if necessary, we can unmute you, but for essence of speed and tranquility of the background, we'll keep folks muted for the time being. Questions will be answered in the chat. We'll pause. I don't do a formal Q&A at the end. I will give you my contact information so that you can get a copy of the slides if you wish, and also so that you can ask me any follow-up questions that we don't have time to get to today. Now, as I understand it, I have 3 hours. I'm just kidding, just making sure you're with me. I have 90 minutes and 642 slides. Also kidding, but I do have about a slide a minute, but many examples. So hopefully it'll be easy and breezy. It'll be fun, we'll engage, and you'll take something back to your home club. All right, let's begin. And I love when we start off with a technical glitch. Okay, we're gonna start right away with some engaging. Mildred, okay, if you think so, I didn't hear Sima, I heard Sima, but we'll give it to Declan for being the best introducer of all Toastmaster history. I honestly mean that. So well done. All right, now if you would please use the chat, pick a number 1 through 7 and tell me, where are you in your professional walk of life? Are you just out of school? Are you in transition looking for a job? If so, tell us what kind of jobs so we can open our doors in our network to you. Are you looking to get promoted? You're hitting stride, you're looking to achieve more at work. Maybe you're ready to retire, or you're already retired. Tell me that. Switching gears, looking to make a significant change in your career. Maybe you're looking to get more involved with community activism, or switch industries altogether. Or you're just happy for now. That's okay too. If you're a spy or a magician or something secret, tell me you're something else. Tell me you're something else. So we've only heard from 3 people, and there's about, let's see how many. We've got 30 plus on the call. So I'd like to know a little bit more about you. It helps me gear the presentation to the people in the room. Transition IT. So everybody heads up. Dean is looking for a new role in IT. Lena, you and Dean should buddy up, as you're also looking to restart your career in IT. Sharon's learning. I love that. Oh, don't we envy David? He's ready to retire. Mildred, I'm not surprised to hear you're switching to activism. I love your quick responses and engagement already. Happy for now, says Nancy. I love it. I love it. Carrie Lynn, switching gears, secretive. Maybe we'll find out. All right. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. Oh, Victoria, 1.5 years should fly by. I hope it will. I was somebody who had more jobs than boyfriends. And then 15 years ago, in fact, it was 15 years a week ago Friday, I went out on my own, hung out this single shingle, incorporated Sway Factory, only then it was a completely different name. And I was a marketing consultant / agency. It's been nothing but an evolution. And I find that's how careers are. They evolve. And whether you think of yourself as having a career or not, that's your life, right? It's what your pursuits you follow and passions you have. Now, this is a very important question. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you some examples. So we tee it up in 5 words or fewer. I'm not going to count words, but keep it brief. Your number 1 reason for being in Toastmasters. Now, you might say something like, you want to be a more commanding speaker. That's what we think of first out of the gate. Maybe you're working on your English pronunciation. For the friendship and the camaraderie. Certainly, I think Toastmasters is fun. Maybe like Mildred, getting more involved in the community, or learning those leadership and project management skills. Maybe you have aspirations of becoming a professional speaker. Maybe it's something else entirely. Tell me. Okay, this will really help me make sure the content's relevant to you. All right, you're a student. Excellent. All right, trying to get promoted. And you've got complicated projects going. All right, hoping to retire, seasoned professional, ready to switch gears. All right, you want to be the best speaker in the world. Jim, starting over as a public speaker, I would suggest you start saying, I'm picking up where I left off. Yeah, Nancy, an introvert trying to make a job more easy, get more comfortable with that chit chat that has to happen at work to get things done. Stage fright. Yes. My very first speech, I was a young girl, but I kept my legs so locked tight, my knees so locked, that when it was my time to leave the stage, I had trouble unlocking them. And I was like, oh, all right. Better thinking on the feet. That's a good one. personal growth, confidence. I love that. I've gained a lot of confidence through Toastmasters, namely in that I can really mess things up and I'm going to live. I'm going to be okay after bombing on the stage. Online presenter. Oh yeah, making your speech matter, making it count. Speech writer, Arnie, excellent. Oh, Malcolm, that's inspiring. Malcolm wants to transform lives with memorable messages. And Dennis, you got to change the language. Instead of saying to stop being such an introvert, it's hard to stop anything. How about saying I'm becoming more extroverted? That's a little bit easier. That's why I never say I quit smoking. I became a non-smoker. All right, thank you for sharing with me. I hope that you find value in this presentation for every stage of your career and every reason that you're in Toastmasters, because as I said before, we don't follow linear paths anymore. We change jobs, we change industries, we change professions. And this idea that we would work so hard our entire life and then come to a screeching halt and just sit in the rocking chair, watch the sunset. Hey, no offense if that's how you see retirement, but one of my Toastmasters buddies is looking down the eyes of retirement, and he's already invented a new career for himself that has something to do with golf, because he loves to play golf and he figured out a way to make money doing that. I mean, Mildred's going to be a community activist. I know one of you said you're a year and a half out from retirement. You're probably enjoying thinking about, maybe it's spending more time with family, maybe it's taking an epic road trip. But the degree to which we are on a journey is part of that personal brand story we have to learn to tell. Now, personal branding, and we're going to start with this and we're going to come back to this and then we'll end on social. But personal branding is an important skill for each of us, not just with respect to getting ahead at work, but also with respect to growing our clubs. We know that if you learn to code COBOL in college, that you've then since learned Java or whatever the cool kids are coding these days. We know that at one point you learn to play an instrument and then perhaps another. You can be taught to be a great orator. You can learn vocal variation. You can do all these things. But if nobody knows you're good at it, then what's the end game? Because it's in the telling of our story, in the sharing of our soft skills, our communication prowess, our leadership skills, our difficulty, bravery with difficult conversations. Some of you said, I'd like to become more of an extrovert. Those are soft skills, those communication skills, and that's what moves us forward in life. Technical skills, you can always pick up something new. I myself am trying to learn how to do needlepoint. I got the sewing badge in Girl Scouts, but I pretty much think they gave it to me out of pity because that's not easy. But what does all this have to do with social media? You might be wondering. When I was contacted with the idea of being your presenter on this topic today, I said, we better take this offline and chat by phone because I have something to declare. And I got on the phone with Abhijit and I said, I have very, very fixed opinions, strong opinions about the use of social media to grow your club. And I can't be convinced otherwise. I've never had an introduction call like this before because I just really wanted to be sure that I was a good fit for your district's needs. I said, I don't believe it should fall on the district VP of PR or the club VP of PR to have social communities and build up all this following and promote the club. I don't think it's designed well that way. In all my years as a corporate marketer, 13 of those in high tech and 15 years teaching people how to use their digital footprint to brand and promote themselves. I've never seen it work well. And instead, I think the onus is on each of us to better use the social media in which we play Now, I want to give you a huge sigh of relief right now. If you're thinking, this gal is going to make me tweet, no way, I won't. Well, you're right. I'm not going to make you do anything, but rather I'm going to give you tips, ideas, and tools to best use the social platforms you already enjoy. And so hopefully you're on one so that this can be relevant for you. And if at the end you decide you want to add another or your very first, so be it. But for those of us who manage social media as part of how we relate to our communities and our life, we have a real opportunity to lift up our clubs. And when we lift up our clubs, we lift up ourselves. That's why I asked you, where are you in life and why are you a member of Toastmasters? And it might be just for fun. It might be to work on what you perceive to be a career limiting orientation to introversion. It might be to fast track your leadership capabilities. You have to think about, how do you want to be known and where does promoting the club fit in with it? They go hand in glove, and I'm going to show you that. When I talk about social media, I'd like you to think of them loosely in these terms. They are communities where real people congregate. Communities where people of all walks of life congregate, either because they have to for work or they want to for pleasure. Keeping up with the grandkids, the sorority sisters, the pickleball buddies. I don't know why you are or aren't on any particular site. I can tell you from a very deep place of honesty that I'm not on Pinterest. I found myself getting hungry or angry when I was on Pinterest. Everybody's posting their beautiful food and the meals they made, and then their arts and crafts and their beautiful needlepoint, and they're decorating, and I don't have any of that. And I would literally look at food and get hungry, or look at all the talent out there and rue the day I didn't get any. So I'm not on Pinterest. Maybe you love it. You're a pinner. Wherever you are, think of it as a community of people congregating to share content. To share content. Now that's a little sneaky because some people are just there to listen. You know, there's something from early days social media called Forrester's technographic social media ladder. Essentially what it said is people are on social media for different reasons, and rarely can you convert somebody from one rung on the ladder to another. Some folks are there because they love rating restaurants or rating movies or products they bought on Amazon. And for them, that's social, that's content creation. And others like me, well, I'll explain how I think of all the top platforms in which I play shortly. But in the sharing of photos and quips and quotes and commentary, we're creating content, and content spurs conversation. And it's through conversation that we consider something new. Perhaps not a political viewpoint. I think we've all learned that Facebook is not a place to convince somebody there is or isn't a disease or a right or wrong with respect to reproductive health. I don't go there. No politics either. No religion, I should add. But consideration happens. And in the consideration of you and who you are and coming to know more about you, and that you're an avid Toastmaster, and that you love it, and you're learning, and you're growing, and you're laughing while you're doing it. You are spending a very precious block of lifetime on what I can only imagine is a glorious weather day where you live. I'm here in Chicago, and it's clear skies, a little chilly. But you're here on a Saturday. Why? Was it out of obligation? I hope not. I hope you find value in these, and other people value knowing about it. And that's where the consideration comes in. So that's the framework upon which we're going to think about social media. Any questions? You just use the chat. I'm keeping an eye on it. All right. All right. Now, this is hopefully a quick answer for you. Which carries more weight, do you think? And I've already kind of hinted at my answer. But which carries more weight? Your voice or the voice of your club? What do you think carries more weight? Use the chat. Let me know when you're chatting. I'm wetting my whistle. Which do you think? Everybody agree with Carolyn and Nancy? You can just nod. You could come on screen and join me. All right, our collective individual voices. Yeah, well said, Nancy, Carolyn, and Stephanie, all the ladies in the house. Your voice. People want to know what you're up to, not your club. This is my strong bias. You have every right to disagree. Maybe your experience is different, but I did this at the district level. I've done it at the club level. I've done the role for several years. I've been involved in open houses, recruiting new members. And I'm telling you, it's kind of like those debates we shouldn't be having on Facebook. I believe you have the power. I'm gonna show you how to use it, all right? You are the voice that lifts your club and also lifts your personal brand. Lifts your personal brand. How do you want to be known? Somebody here wants to be a podcaster. Somebody else wants to get more active in the community, be a community activist or convener. That's exciting. How do you bring people up to speed on your story? 15 years ago, I had been a corporate marketer for 20 years, involved in the Business Marketing Association, the American market, anything with the word marketing in it, I was part of it. And I had to take a lifetime professional network and let them know I was hanging out the single shingle. And I did it without mail, without email. I did it purely on social. And to this very day, the way I behave on social drops referrals and leads into my inbox. I know it works. I know it works. Who do you think is listening to you online? Go ahead and use the chat. Arnie, we're going to get to that. What's the most effective social media as a marketing medium? Are you talking about marketing yourself, Arnie? Or are you talking about marketing your club? Oh, that was a private message. My apologies if I outed you. But that's a fascinating question. I'm sure other people want to know. So if you could just chat me back. Who do you think is listening to you for everybody else? You have friends? Friends on social? Colleagues? Coworkers? Anybody? Yeah, friends. Let's hear from some other folks. Eleanor, Dan, Lena, are you there? Vivian. Yeah, people who are your friends are certainly listening. I think there's even more people than that. Folks with similar interests, absolutely. I think your employees might be keeping an eye on you. Former and current colleagues. I don't know about you, but I'm friends with people I work with. Maybe your neighbors. Are you connected on any platform to neighbors, to members of your place of worship, or former schoolmates, family? If you're a business or in sales and you have clients, you know, when I started my business, my clients wanted to connect with me on Facebook to what? Get to know the real me, I guess. And the real me is the one who shows up in the office, so I might as well be myself. Your pickleball buddies. I don't know who plays pickleball. I want to learn. The PTA members, your kids' carpool drivers, your fans, your followers. Yeah, internal customers. Absolutely. Absolutely. I see a question there. How can you overcome distrust of social media? Well, Jim, you may not like my answer because it's pretty Pollyanna, but I'll answer it honestly. I have come to believe that we are wired as a human race, and I know it's hard some days, but I've come to believe we are wired to be benevolent and ultimately to leave the world a better place. If I didn't believe that, I'm not sure I could get out of bed in the morning. So I trust my instincts, and when I've screwed something up, well, I'm still here to tell you about it. So, you know, I like to tell people, what's your worst fear? And if that happens, can you handle it? And you have a 100% track record of handling it throughout your life. So I don't distrust people, and it's people behind social media. Are they listening? I'm pretty sure they are. I say the craziest things in front of my, you know who, can't say her name or she'll wake up. And just to see if people like, you know, start sending me ads for crazy things. It's a little creepy, but I'm one with it because fighting it would mean I have to get off the grid and live in a tent in some densely wooded area. I mean, no, not going to happen. So I embrace a law of abundance, a law of goodness. And when I come across somebody without good intentions or well-meaning, I block them. Takes a second. I hope that answers your question. We can debate that certainly more. So everybody's listening to you in some way, shape, or form. And here's what I know after spending 20 years in corporate marketing: complex sale, B2B, business to business, selling multi-million-dollar software that we buy from people we know, like, and trust, and we refer them to. We refer people that we come to know, like, and trust. And we refer Toastmasters. And if I know you, like you, and trust you, and you keep talking about how you're growing like gangbusters from your Toastmasters club, I'm listening. Well, that's gonna leave a mark on how I think of you, perceive you, and how I consider Toastmasters as part of my life, especially when you articulate the benefits you get from it. Mildred, oh my gosh, she was picking up straw bales at the city and people recognize me, I think, from my social media presence. I have no doubt. I one time was at an art fair and somebody came up to me and said, "You're Sima." I said, "No, I'm Sima." But how do you know me? And it was absolutely through social media. I mean, listen, if that creeps you out, play small, put up the boundaries and the fences and the guardrails. I'm a public speaker, so I'm a little bit more open. You will find the right rhythm and the right cadence for you. But be somebody that I can know, like, and trust, and then be that person who's a happy Toastmaster. All right? You're the reason people give it a try. Now, plenty of people have joined my club. It's called V Masters. And we meet at the 67th floor of the Willis Tower, AKA the Sears Tower. And the views are stunning of the Lake Michigan. So we call ourselves View Masters. And people show up and they say, "My boss recommended this to me." Or somebody at work mentioned Toastmasters. Or I heard about it somewhere. And it's vague, like they don't really know. Or they already were a Toastmaster where they used to live. And they're relocated. And our club is most convenient for them. But I would say 3 out of 4 times, somebody comes in on a personal referral. In fact, in my club meeting yesterday, we had a new member who wanted to work on his accent, wanted to become a more effective communicator and also make sure he was articulating English words well. And he invited his cousin who dialed in from Turkey, who had the same goals, but wasn't surrounded nearly as much by English speakers. So, word travels, and it travels far, and it travels fast. So you're the reason, and I really want this to empower you to do something different with your personal brand as a means to lift up your club. So when I talk about personal branding, I'm talking about your character. Are you a person that follows through? Of course you are. You're a Toastmaster. Your competence, what do you know? Right? We're talking about competent speakers and certainly leaders. And then a little bit of your charisma. So the person you are, your dry humor or your loud laugh, whoever you are that makes you uniquely you, that's what people are attracted to. Not your club tweeting from on high about whatever. Not sexy. You're sexy. Yeah, I said it. All right. I want you to think of your brand as a promise. What is the promise you make to the people who work with you, collaborate with you, volunteer with you? To the people whose speeches you evaluate? You have a brand as being an amazing evaluator, or all he does in his evaluations is tell me how much he liked the story, but I really want to become a better speaker. You know the type. So what is your brand promise? Who you are, what you do, what makes you special? Why do you think personal brands matter in all walks of life? Tell me in the chat. Tell me, why do you think having a strong personal brand story, having people understand who you are and where you're going, why that might make a difference in your life? Yep, being remembered, absolutely. Yeah, Nancy, as an identifier, right? To be uniquely identified, to stand out. You know, so many of us worked or currently work in a department where there's other people with the same job title. And there's no two people exactly alike. You don't do the job the same way as the person before you or the person coming after you. So it's definitely an identifier, a way to stand out. Your personal brand absolutely underscores your integrity, your honesty. Right. Here's a couple more reasons. Right. To convey your interest. Where are you going? To showcase all that you've achieved, because it's an indicator of what you will continue to achieve. To make sure your ideas are heard, that you're listened to, because you're known as somebody who brings forward thought-provoking good ideas, to open doors for new opportunity. And certainly to set an example for your peers. I like to think of a strong personal brand in the corporate environment as a way to get the right of first refusal on new opportunities. If your brand speaks volumes for you, precedes you, if you will, you may not know there's an acquisition or a merger or a new department being launched, and then somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, you were recommended to me to lead this task force, to fill this exciting new position, the first of its kind. And that's because your brand story comes before you and gets people excited about you and all you can do. Let's never forget that all you've achieved isn't the reason you get hired or promoted. It's because of the promise of what you're yet to achieve. And that's what people are banking on, that brand promise of what you will deliver. Now, I call all of this is my shtick. That's an official word. All right, I call it your sway factor. And I want you to raise your sway factor. It's how you behave for today's reasons online, but also offline, to generate demand for yourself, for who you are and what you do. And also, in so doing, generate demand for your club. Right? It's the degree to which how you wish to be known. And you already told me a little bit about that. Where are you going next? You're looking for a promotion. You're relaunching a career. You're picking up where you left off on your professional speaking career. How well do those intentions align by how others know you? Wouldn't it be exciting if people came to you and said, you know who you got to talk to? Or I just learned of an opening at this company and it sounds exactly like what you're looking for. And if we behave in a way where others know our story, then we get more opportunity and we can give more right back to our networks. Very exciting. So when we think about, right, I showed you this social media model, right? So it's communities where content, conversation, and consideration or conversion happen. Now the personal brand formula is my 4 E's. It's your essence, your expression, your enrollment, and your evolution. Now, if I'm going to show you how to use your own social media to lift up your brand and your club, we've got to spend just a minute on what the heck a personal brand is and what this model means. I'm just checking my time. I've got 2:33 in Chicago, and we're well on our way. All right, so let's start with essence. Very quickly, we'll go through this model. I want you to just have it in your back pocket as a resource to you as you consider how you do or don't trust social media, where you want to play, what platforms you want to join, and making sure I didn't miss any questions. Okay, so I've got a private question, and which matters more, the club's brand or the personal brand? And I'm going to do my best to answer that succinctly. If your club is well known by members and non-members alike, if people who don't even know what a Toastmaster is well aware of your club because it's done some, I don't know, it's done something amazing and it's been in the news or it's top of mind. I mean, that's so rare. There's some clubs in Chicago that are for professional speakers, or they've been around for years and years and years, and lots of people want to join, or, but you only discover that through your Toastmasters journey. So my short answer is I think the personal brand as being somebody who invites others into the journey is more important. Now, after you're in Toastmasters and you know about certain clubs, maybe that changes. But I can't keep all the clubs straight. I'm in Chicago. There's a million of them. And they're all fabulous in their own way, right? Corporate clubs. So that's my short answer to you. He who shall remain nameless. All right. So let's talk about your essence. Your essence is what lights you up. I call it your professional DNA, but you don't have to be in the profession of it. So you can be somebody who gets excited by raising visibility, raising money for small causes. You can be somebody who likes determining patterns out of big data. Not me. All right. I'm somebody who likes, well, I'll tell you what I like. Here's some ways to know thyself, know yourself a little bit better. These are all low fee or completely free. And these tests, maybe you took them when you were younger, maybe you've never taken them. Interestingly, I score the same some 25 years later. I'm dating myself as I did when I first took most of them. It's fascinating. I really love Gallup's strengths, which we formerly called Strengths Finder. So a lot of you probably have a high degree of woo. If you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it turns out I'm a word nerd. And I discovered my inner word nerd at a very young age. I had to be about 4 or 5 years old. And I got the big box of crayons, you know, the one with the sharpener on the back. And I discovered 20 crayons with the word blue in them. And in my child mind, there was a blue color. But I was introduced to robin blue and sky blue and navy blue, which was different from dark blue, different from rich blue. And on it went. And I discovered the power of a single word to modify an entire opinion or outcome, to really tell a story. I've been a fan of brevity ever since. You might think I'm running on right now, but that's different. All right, so I'm a word nerd. What lights you up professionally? You want people to know so you can get more of it in your life. Throughout my career as a marketer, branding strategist, messaging expert, when I was between jobs, I would help people with their resumes and their LinkedIn profiles. I wrote copy for CPG products and all manner of things to make ends meet. But it always comes back to that word nerd, inner word nerd. I'm the girl who does the crosswords. I get the Merriam-Webster word of the day. For those of you who are fellow word nerds, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So now we're on to expression. You know who you are, you know what you want to attract, but nobody else knows it until you express it. And this is powerful. We're going to move into enrollment, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to use social media to lift yourself and your club up. But we've got to get through enrollment, because if you don't have a brand story that others buy into, all the rest is moot. So what is your brand story and how do you express yourself? This is how you articulate that which brings you joy. Some of you said you were looking to restart a career or make a transition. You know, maybe it's not public knowledge, but to the extent you can share, let me give you a really easy example of this. If you said to me, I'm a job seeker, well, that would be all I know about you and all the people on the chat. But you said you're a job seeker in IT. Now, I'm sure there's a lot more keywords around what kind of work you're seeking. For those of you restarting a speaking career, what kind of speeches do you give? What kinds of audiences? All the detail makes it easy for me to open my network to you and make recommendations for you and introductions and referrals. So stating your true north is an act of benevolence, because people need what it is you do, but they can't ask you for it if they don't know what exists, if they don't know the possibilities. Mildred sees no slides. Did we lose our slides? Declan, do you see slides?
I do not. I was fascinated by your verbals. So
Oh, you haven't been seeing slides?
we have seen slides, but just not very recently. Now we see slides. But you are mute. Sima, you are mute.
Who's messing with my situation over here? The gremlins. It's the gremlins, I tell you. All right, so if you're wondering what you missed, let's see, where did we leave off? Did you see that? Expression, Declan, nod your
No,
head.
we didn't. Yeah, we just heard you verbalize this slide.
What
No.
about this?
No, none of that.
Oh, well, then I want to make sure you see this because these are the tests that you can take, all of which are free or very low fee to discover what makes you tick, right? This discovers what makes you tick. Again, you're going to get information on how to get a copy of all the slides if you want them in PDF form. All right, thanks for letting me know. Mildred for the win. All right, here we go with your DNA is what lights you up, right? And that's your essence. So we talked about, oh, I'm going the wrong way. I'm all discombobulated now. She's pulling it back together. I'm a word nerd, box of crayons, onto expression. It's your true north. All right, now we're up to date. All right. So I call this owning your ellipsis. And that's fancy grammar, right? The ... I think of it as who you are, what you do, what makes you special. But perhaps more importantly than anything, it's how you wish to be known. Brands are nothing if not aspirational. How do you wish to be known? How do you need to be known? So when the phone rings, it's the perfect IT job. It's the perfect speaking opportunity. It's the perfect podcast sponsor who wants you to have your own podcast and is willing to pay for it. I mean, imagine if the phone rings and it's a hot opportunity. How would the person on the other end of the line need to think of you or know you? Or how would someone have to refer you? That's your ... It follows the question, who do you know who ... Somebody asks me this every week. Sima, who do you know who can help me with my website? Who do you know who's really good at PowerPoint, right? Who excels at communication, has the gravitas to build consensus. I can't think of anybody better than a fellow Toastmaster, right? Who's ready for a new challenge? Many of you would raise your hand. So you've got to express and articulate how you wish to be known. So I'm going to ask you in the chat, all right, to name up to 3 areas of expertise for which you want to be known. Now, before you start, consider how I will need to think of you to help you find what you're looking for next and be really specific. If you say leader, guess what? We're all leader. So maybe you are a consensus building leader, or give it some modifier so we know what you mean, because we're all creative, we're all leaders, we're all chatty Cathys. So let's go in the chat. 3 words, maybe 5. Just keep it brief. How do you wish to be known? What are your areas of expertise? Where do they lie? I can wait. I can wait. Oh, see, this is so exciting. All right. Neuro-inclusive leadership. I couldn't love that more. Bridging communication between people. Jim Denson's the active listener. All right. Gardening with tillage or tillage. I think it's tillage with 2 L's as an environmentalist. Ah, I love it. Anybody else care to share? Web development. Yeah, and accessibility in web design. I love it. Ooh, you produce events and you create content media. So I get it. I get it. And the extent that you get me on your page, just your page, it's going to take a while before we get to know each other really well. But you know, when you think about your personal introduction, I have a program I did yesterday on that. When you introduce yourself, instead of saying, "Hi, I'm Sima Dahl, president, founder, and CEO of Sway Factory Inc." means nothing to anyone unless I say I'm a speaker and a trainer and I help people learn to market themselves. And that's a little bit more interesting. Would you agree? So these words matter. The best physics teacher, I bet you are. I bet you are. Listen, we can't get from the universe that which we're not willing to ask for. You absolutely cannot get what you're not willing to ask for. So in the telling of your story, in an aspirational brand story at that, you're making the ask in a way that showcases how you help other people. It's amazing. You know, we used to talk about the Kevin Bacon game, 6 degrees of separation. Studies say we're closer to 3.12. I read that stat out of Caltech, 3.12. My dad was an old World War II Army vet, Depression era kid, and he used to say, "Kid, it's a small world, but I'd hate to paint it." It's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. And the idea that I know somebody who can help you or somebody who needs your help, that's very real as we get hyper connected in this 24/7 global economy we live and breathe in. So bear that in mind as you think about playing big. Now, if you want a copy of the slides or you have a follow-up question, this is how to get either one. You're just going to email me at my primary email address, but be careful about this subject line. I'm going to share this slide one more time, but be careful with this subject line. My inbox, it's a dark, scary place. And I will sort on these keywords, D101 follow-up. So use them in that order and no embellishment. Okay. All right. I'm off my rant. Okay. Now we have enrollment. And enrollment is how we're actually going to use social media to promote ourselves and promote our club, right? Because we know what we're all about. That's our essence. And we know how to use the words and language that get people on our page. But now we've got to get them to buy in and really understand the page so that they can make good introductions and referrals for us, join our clubs, ask to learn more about what we're up to, sponsor our podcast for crying out loud. All right, enrollment. We're going to look at 2 aspects of social media that you have total control over. This is your control, your fingertips, your passwords, usernames, and logins. All right, you're going to optimize your digital footprint, which means when I Google you, what do I see? When I connect with you on a social platform, what do I see? This is so easy. You're going to just do this. Like, I can't believe I haven't done this before. And some of you may have your own examples of how you've done even more. So keep those for now, and we're going to solicit your ideas as well. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do is update your social status. You know, when it says, what are you doing? We're going to do that with such great focus and purpose and intent that people will ask you how they can learn more about Toastmasters. Hey, they may not join your club, but if they join a club, you know their life is better, and the Toastmasters community is better for it as well. All right. Thank you for that, Carrie Lynn. All right. Now your digital footprint, if you haven't Googled yourself, don't do it now. Do it on the next break and see what you see. I mean, if you go back far enough and you know my maiden name, you see how slowly this gal runs a 5K. Stuff lives on the interwebs forever, forever. So what you need to know is what's out there about you and then how to optimize it. How to optimize it. All right, this is where I mostly play. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So I'm going to focus on these 4 because they're some of the most popular social platforms, especially for adults. I know somebody just graduated and the young kids are all about getting off of Facebook because their parents are stalking them. But I'm not doing anything too risky. I'm a woman of an older age, and I don't need to put it all out there. And I certainly don't need to learn any new TikTok dances. I'm busy. Now, if I enjoyed that, or I had a different kind of business, one that was more aimed at the global public, well, I might take on TikTok. But so far, and I was on Snapchat for a while, and I got some very offensive snaps via chat. And I decided I didn't need to play there either. And I already told you, Pinterest makes me nuts. So I got off of Pinterest. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to be hot next. But like I said, wherever you hang, wherever you play, make the highest use of it. So for me, Facebook is like a water cooler. I work from home, I'm alone, and it's lonely, darn it. So Facebook is where I take a break. It's like a backyard barbecue. It's relaxed, it's chill. All right. Hopefully you've got a business card in your pocket when you go to the barbecue because you're going to meet the new neighbors or set up a play date, whatever it is. Twitter's more like a cocktail party. So for me, that means higher heels, shorter skirt, maybe not for you, maybe not for Declan. I don't know. I don't judge. All right. But don't win the lampshade award, as my dad used to call it. Don't drink and tweet. Just behave. If you find yourself writing in all capital letters about one half of the political world or the other, or whatever you have going on up there in Canada, stop it. Because you're annoying, aggravating, and otherwise pissing off the other half of the universe. So behave, people. I mean, literally, the best social media policies are this big. And they don't tell you what not to do, they tell you what to do. And for me, it's summarized as behave. Instagram's like the slideshow, best moments. I use it more for fun than I do business, but I do snap and post the occasional photo of me speaking. We'll get into that next. And then LinkedIn is this. Look how good you all look, dressed up. Business cards at the ready, your perfect elevator pitch, how you introduce yourselves and show up and engage. That's LinkedIn. It's the most professional of the network, some 7 million members. I'll tell you, I was among the first 100,000 to join. So if there's something you might have thought could work on LinkedIn, I've tried it. So I speak with a high degree of confidence. And what I'm going to go so far as to call expertise and how to leverage LinkedIn for brand you and for club growth. Now let's dive in and see some examples. And that's all the instruction I'm doing is by way of example. And then we're going to give it a try. We're going to give it a try. First, a warning. Do not be a Toastmaster shill. All right. What's a shill? I didn't know it was slang because I guess I grew up with that word. But it's an accomplice or a hawker or a swindler who pretends to be enthusiastic about something, but it's all phony. It's all for show or some under the table payoff. You are not a Toastmaster shill. You're you. You're you, and your work matters, and your interests and hobbies, your whole story matters. If you get on social media just to talk about Toastmasters, I'm going to tune you out because I want to know you. And it's in your showing up that I come to understand the value of Toastmasters. So keep that in mind as I show you these examples. All right, this is my personal information on Facebook. You'll see there we have it, that I'm a member and a volunteer at Toastmasters International. I don't want you to think I work there. That's important to me, maybe more so because I have my own business, but I like to make the distinction. I don't work for Toastmasters International, but I'm an active member and volunteer. And because of the way the algorithms work on Facebook, my job actually comes second. And I don't love that, but I got to promote the cause, right? And I actually recently added this in preparation for this program. I thought, you know what? There's not a better place to add it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here because I'm a proud Toastmaster and I do want you to find a club, and I want you to check out mine, which is a hybrid club. So you can join us online. Yes, you can. All right. So then I go and explain it a little bit more. Member and volunteer. I say, I enjoy the community and camaraderie. My club viewmasters, we're hybrid. We meet the first and third Fridays. Ask me if you'd like to learn more or hit this link and you can register to sit in on a session or two. That's how I did it. Do you have a better idea? I bet you do. There's no one right way. You could say I overcome to stutter by my membership in Toastmasters. You could say I went from freaked out introvert to comfortable introvert. You can say whatever you want to say about your experience. For me, a professional speaker, I love the camaraderie of it and the continuous learning and practice, and I love helping others. That's the truth. So I write from the heart. Again, I'm not a Toastmaster shill, I'm Sima, simmer down now. And this is how I feel about my club. All right. Oh, and Yuzong, don't worry, I'm going to share that information again. And Carrie Lynn put it in the chat already. So we'll come back to it. Not to worry. Flash Morgan, thank you. I love the nicknames. Okay, that's Facebook. It's pretty simple. Just add it to your careers if you wish. Know that if you've had your job longer, it will be underneath. I prefer my job to come first because that's how I live. But that's what I choose to do. Now, if you're on Twitter, what can you do with your bio? Well, I put the hashtag Toastmaster. I don't want to go into all of Toastmasters. I'm not on Twitter just for Toastmasters, not a shill. But I am a proud member of, and I occasionally talk about Toastmasters. All right, so that's how I enhance my bio. These are easy fixes. If you're on Twitter, can log in, update your bio, make sure it fits in their character. I think it's 160 characters total. And see if you can, even if you add the hashtag, super simple. Everybody who reads my bio, how short is it? Knows that I'm a Toastmaster. Mission accomplished. This is me on, where is this? This is Instagram. Okay, this is Instagram. And I'm a global speaker, corporate trainer, executive coach. I don't have time to give my whole tagline, learn how to market yourself. That's all I can fit in if I want to include my primary hashtags, which are sway factor. And then my 3 buckets of content are personal branding, leadership, social selling. And then I did this just today, full disclosure. It had never occurred to me before to let people know I'm a Toastmaster. Why not? I mean, I'm giving up a Saturday too, and I can't think of a better use of my time, except maybe sleeping, all right? So simple tricks to lift up your profile. Now, when it comes to LinkedIn, there's a bit more opportunity to share. Now, here is that, I know Carrie Lynn Flash Morgan, we'll type this again later, but it's Sima at simadahl.com, D101 follow-up. All right, I'll leave it up for a second so Flash Morgan doesn't get yelled at again. Okay, hopefully I paced it better this time. Okay, now LinkedIn is not your resume. Please, 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 for the love of all things holy, quit treating LinkedIn like your resume. It is sales collateral for you, what you've done, what you want to do. If I hit up your LinkedIn profile and it's one of those sad, tired, anemic profiles where I don't know what you do, I don't know how you get out of bed in the morning, it's just, ugh. Well, there's an opportunity for you to fill it in and bring it to life so that I can find you, I can easily forward it and refer you. And after we haven't seen each other for months and months, maybe years, I can still go back there and understand what it is you do in your own words. You own it. You own it. So LinkedIn, when I teach LinkedIn and do social selling and programs like that, I have a blueprint that I think helps market a person better. We're not going to go through all this today. We're going to touch on just 3 of them. And the first one is your headline. The first one is your headline. This is a tip for your professional side. And it comes back to my point about you're not a Toastmaster shill. So I'll demonstrate by example. I don't have the word Toastmaster in my headline. Your headline is perhaps the most important real estate on your profile. And I don't want to share my headline with anybody or anything. I need to pay the rent, okay? Toastmasters is in other parts of my profile, and I'll share those with you. Some of you choose to talk about, the job you hold, and then also add, active Toastmaster, but that's fine. But I'm going to caution you against using acronyms like Advanced Communicator Bronze and ACB and ALC and BTM times 3, and because the world doesn't understand it. The world doesn't understand it. So my counsel for each of you that has a professional goal is that you use this space to talk about what it is you do, what it is you know. Now, I was referred to this opportunity by my dear friend, Cheryl Rausch. Some of you know her. And I looked up her. She does the same thing. She's a speaker and a coach and a consultant. And it's all around leadership, business communications, executive presence. It's perfect. Now, I don't know anybody who supports Toastmasters in a bigger way than Cheryl. She is so generous of her time, speaks all over the country. She is very active in the accredited speaker program, and she doesn't even have it in her headline. And for those of you who aren't professional speakers, you might think, what do I put there? Well, you can put your title, but how sexy is that? You're a project manager. My girlfriend's a chief marketing officer, and she could say that, but what kind of marketing is she up to? What is she interested in? What's her banner ad? She's into digital technology, B2B marketing, business to business, revenue generation, very important, and a change leader and a team builder. Just tells a little bit more about her. So be careful how you do or don't stitch Toastmasters into your headline. The other point I want to make before we get into the Toastmasters specific spots is about your headshot. Because, well, let me tell you, nobody trusts this person. Nobody follows this person into a club meeting, hires, promotes, or refers this person. Have a basic headshot. No Christmas tree behind it, no little kids, kitty cats, all your friends, you cut them all off and your arms just look like, armless stems. Just get a decent headshot. In fact, the other day, and if you want this information, you can use that contact information. I'll find it for you. But my headshots are really old. I'm a little embarrassed. 2016, but I was getting ready to reshoot. Then there was COVID. Then there was weight gain. Anyway, I'm getting ready. I really am. But I need to update it. And I found a woman who'll take a current headshot of you and put it on a fake background and give you different fake headshots digitally using a real photo of yourself. And I think it's $40 or something. Anyway, if you want that information, I thought it was great. I'm probably going to do it as a short-term gap. Get a photo. Look me in the eyes and say, I'm friendly. I'm somebody you can know and like and trust. And by all means, I'm a Toastmaster. Where do we put the Toastmasters bits? We put them in the other sections. The other sections. Now, a lot of you have Toastmasters, your volunteer position listed under experience, which is technically reserved for JOB, jobs. I don't do it for myself, but I understand why, if it's such a big part of your life, you would put it in the experience section. Not my counsel, though, because it's not a paid position, unless, of course, you work for Toastmaster International. So I put it in two places. One is under honors and awards. This is where I put my accredited speaker. Super excited to have achieved that. And then I put it under organizations. Organizations is an entirely different section. And you'll see that I say I'm a founding member of my club. I've held several officer roles. I served at the district level. In 2019, I got my DTM, I got my accredited speaker. If you're interested in learning more, how Toastmasters helps improve your communication and leadership skills, drop me a line. That's where I feel it belongs. Now you can put it other places. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat really quickly. Cheryl is amazing. Yes, she is, Virginia. Okay, this person has a really good point, and I'll come to it in just 1 second. Let me finish this out. The other place you can put Toastmasters is under volunteer work. If you want to list it in all three places, just make sure you keep it up to date. I was looking at my listing today. This is LinkedIn, and it said I was still serving as the club secretary. Well, that was last year. So keeping your LinkedIn up to date and accurate, I think, speaks to integrity, speaks to honesty, speaks to being truthful. And so it's just important, if you're going to get specific about what volunteer roles you have, that you update it accordingly when you take on a new role or take a time out. All right. Now, the chat that I'm having here privately is about camaraderie. And this person is suggesting that the real allure of Toastmasters, more so than becoming an effective communicator and leader, might be the camaraderie and the community. I like to talk about both. For some of you, you're really going to resonate with that camaraderie and that community, and it's fun. Meetings are fun. If they were torturous, we wouldn't keep up with it. But others of you are working on something, overcoming something, getting better at spontaneous speaking opportunities, speaking off the cuff, or perfecting your pronunciation. I have a person in my club who came here from China, and she always asks me to give her feedback on how she is or isn't pronouncing words correctly. She's still working on it. She's my age. Okay, so I say both. I say they go hand in glove, and you talk about whatever feels right to you. Now, Dennis wants to know why I have my date of birth on your front page. Are you looking at Facebook, or were you looking at my slides? Or are you looking at LinkedIn? Tell me where you're looking, and I'll answer it, or I'll fix it. Oh, the slide, right? Because I was in edit mode. So you can see that, but it's not shared publicly. So all y'all, I should have blacked it out. Don't go stealing my birthday. Very good question, Dennis. Thank you. Note to self, fix the slide. All right. So Toastmasters International, big part of who I am, but it isn't a job, and I'm not a shill. Now, when you're thinking about the personal branding arc, if you will, last is evolution. As your story changes, as you earn awards, get your DTM your third time around, achieve accredited speaker, which we are all capable of doing. You want to update your profiles, right? You want to do that. So your story evolves as you evolve, and it's important to keep those public profiles up to date, because that's your true north. Now, the other thing that's important to do is to tell your story, is to update your status with intention, not willy-nilly. Here's what I had for breakfast. Here's what I had for lunch. Here's what I had for dinner for the next 27 days. Unless you're promoting some fancy diet, I kind of am getting bored with the second day of your oatmeal and blueberries, whatever you're doing. When you're intentional about your updates, they serve a higher purpose. Now, not every update needs serve a higher purpose. But if you think about it, you either find something amusing and you want to share, or you have news to share, or let's take a look at some examples, and you'll see different reasons why I post. And we'll go back to these 4 again: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, because it's where I play. So it's where I can speak with the most authenticity. All right. Again, the status update is simply where it says, what are you doing? Post your update here. And, like I said, I've been on LinkedIn since there was only 100,000 members. So I've had a lot of experience writing status updates there. Here's a minor confession of sorts. During COVID, when my business was completely gutted, and there were race riots in my backyard, and I don't mean to get too somber or serious, but I got really blue, and I didn't feel like creating content. I didn't feel like faking it. I didn't feel like kvetching, another technical word, or bemoaning my sorrows. I just kind of went into a hole, and I got very quiet on social. Now I'm coming back, and I'm coming out, because now I have things to talk about again. Work is returning to normal. All's quiet in Chicago, at least for now. Of course, we're coming into another political cycle, but I try to stay out of the fray. But so if you're looking at my past status updates and you see a big gap, I wanted to just honestly tell you why. But here's some recent posts and how I personally use all these social media outposts to promote my brand and my club. Now, as I gave you a warning last time, I'm going to give you a warning this time. Don't be a spam cannon. What's a spam cannon? It's misspelled in this definition, but it's from like some crazy website about where you figure out what snarky new words mean. But it's spamzilla, like posting and posting and posting about Toastmasters. You become a spam cannon for a third-party organization, which isn't even you. It's not even your organization. It's another person's organization. You're a member of it. So you have to think about what I call the noise to ratio signal, the noise, to real meaningful content signal, right? Because you become noisy and people will lose interest altogether rather than using pacing. And we're going to get to that to talk about Toastmasters when it makes sense. So this is one of my latest posts on Facebook. It simply says B52s. That is all. I was at a concert. I was having fun. My husband made that ridiculous face. I couldn't have been happier. And my friends know I'm a live music junkie. They absolutely know that. So that I'm at another concert is part of my brand story. They're not surprised. All right. Here's another one. I honestly have so many friends and family, my mother, my cousin, my dear friend, who another good friend that have had really horrific skin cancer scares. And it was on Good Morning America about Melanoma Week or Melanoma Monday. And I thought, you know what? It is a serious thing. And I haven't had a head to toe scan in a couple of years. So I posted this because I thought it was the right thing to do. Notice I don't just post Melanoma Monday. I say it's no joke. Thinking about my friends and family who are skin cancer survivors. They have the scars to show for it, right? Just because you tan easily doesn't mean you don't need to wear sunscreen, you know? And then the next thing I did after I posted this is I made an appointment with my dermatologist. I mean, I was really taking it seriously. So that's why I shared that, okay? This one, all about my work. This is the genius of the intentional post, because what I did is I talked about a brand new program that I was delivering that I'd never done before. I was intimidated, I'm not gonna lie. But if you think I posted this just so that people would talk me off the ledge, you're not yet getting the point. The point is to gently remind my network of my ... And when I completed this program, my ... had shifted, it had expanded. And these people who engage with my post, they're what I call brand champions because they know what I'm up to and they can more easily open doors. It's why I tell job seekers, don't just post, wish me luck on my job search. You have to get specific. Wish me luck on my interview today for an IT sysadmin position. That it's just a mile from my house, it would be ideal. Keep your fingers crossed. Remind people the kind of job you're seeking, the kind of community activist, environmentalist you want to be, what they can learn from you. Easy tips, but not ad nauseum, because we still want the human being in there. We still want the human being in there. I spoke at another conference last weekend, and the conference, the district's PDQ posted this, she tagged me, and I said, absolutely share it on my page. By all means, share it on my page and let people know I'm active in Toastmasters. And maybe somebody will register, maybe somebody will learn something, maybe somebody will join. You never know. It's just in the talking about it from the heart, okay? Look at that sad face. Isn't she grumpy? That's me, believe it or not. All right, this was my first attempt at accredited speaker. I was not successful. I was not successful, and it hurt. And I said, I'm feeling raw. And people did come in out of the corners to say, it's okay, try again, live and learn. And I got a lot of interaction from that post because I was sharing with humility the experience of stepping out of my comfort zone and not being met with success. Right? It's in the sharing of you and the vulnerability and the honesty that people click and they see you as somebody they can relate to. Here's Cheryl. being interviewed on some podcast for Toastmasters. Here's Darren LaCroix. He didn't post this, somebody he knows did. And she's talking about the conference and how amazing it was. And there's Darren LaCroix. And there's Darren and our own James Brown, right? And they're talking about stronger content speech. Now, it doesn't say Toastmasters, but we know better. Stronger contest speech, excuse me. We know this is a Toastmasters post, and if you read more, you can tell that. Okay, and this is, oh, I love it. Bob Huey, who's another accredited speaker, showing his real side, hanging with the real Bob Huey at the District 22 conference. He's just having fun. It's a water cooler. It's a backyard barbecue. Talk about what you enjoy. Your passions, your hobbies, every now and then your work, and every now and then your Toastmasters. Okay? Now, if you want to get on Twitter, just search the hashtag Toastmasters and you'll see thousands of posts of what people are writing. Okay, that same woman who posted about Darren LaCroix, she's over here. Oh no, this is a different one. This is somebody who said the president of Blue Cross Blue Shield, Illinois, leadership journey, improving storytelling, Toastmasters. People are using the Toastmasters hashtag more than you think. And it is a powerful way to identify yourself as somebody who's a member. And it's a powerful way to get people to ask you, tell me more. What's Toastmasters for? What's it all about? Will it help me with X? Will it help me with Y? You can talk about it, right? And I schedule my tweets. This is a podcast I did, and I schedule this, and it shows up every couple of weeks. You don't have to, if you're on Twitter, there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. If you're not on Twitter, forget I even mentioned it. Okay, nobody's telling you have to get on Twitter. But if you want to get on Twitter, follow me. You'll see different ways that I talk about it. Here's the chance to become a champion, the District 101 virtual conference. Increase your sway factor. I was emceeing this. I did a bunch of posts. Okay, I'm excited and honored to MC my open house. I hashtag Toastmasters. I copy at Toastmasters. Why not? A lot of times they'll like it, and sometimes they might even retweet it. And just playing the game, the community, content, conversation, consideration. Just talking about it, easy breezy. Here's an article that I read about public speaking at the Democratic Convention, and there were some really interesting points that reminded me of Toastmasters. And I like to remind my network, I'm a speaker. That's in my interest, but it's also in my interest to promote Toastmasters. So I do both here, Speaker Life, Toastmasters. And I use Toastmaster or Toastmasters. You can look them up both. I'm moving fast. These are intentional tweets, but they're not books I'm publishing, okay? I try to, be brief, be on point, and be on brand. And here's me talking to somebody about an experience they had with me at a Toastmasters conference. They said some kind words. I'm gonna reply. And Toastmasters rock. Is that a hashtag? No, it's not. I made it up. All right? Have some fun. Twitter's a cocktail party. Show a little leg. Have a little humor. All right? And certainly you can follow them on Instagram. Instagram, they don't post a lot, but they've got nearly 68,000 followers. I don't follow many people back, but you can follow them, and you can also look up the hashtag Toastmasters on Instagram. There's 436,841 posts that you can learn from, that you can like. You can follow other Toastmasters. If you're an Instagrammer and you're down with the Instagram flow, check my Insta. If that's you, have a field day and weave Toastmasters right into everything you're talking about, right? So find the hashtag. You could follow the hashtag. One click. Here's my district, 103. I don't even follow it. And there's goofy posts there. I don't even know who owns it. I'm not lying. Same thing on LinkedIn. There's like a group, there's a page. God bless the VPs of PR at the club and district level, but they can't carry this load if we don't do our part. It's all about us, right? LinkedIn, hashtag Toastmasters. You'll find all the posts where people are using it in their status updates. And I'll give you, there's this woman again who posted about Darren LaCroix. I said, I don't even know her. It's a friend of Darren's. Here she is again. Public speaking is more than a tool for effective communication. It's a door to personal growth and self-discovery. And then at the bottom of the photo, not visible in the frame, were several hashtags, including Toastmasters. Just a champion of Toastmasters. And she also does TEDx coaching and prep speakers. So talking about public speaking is on brand for her too. All right, here's one of mine. All right, I forgot to promote last week's on LinkedIn. So I quick said, if you have a minute this afternoon, kind of lame, I confess. I don't always remember LinkedIn because I try to use it more for work with occasional Toastmasters, right? But I went and posted it same day and I forget how many, 557 impressions. Did I convert 557 people to join Toastmasters? No. But are people who are not familiar with it thinking about what is that? And curious to learn more? I hope so. You can only control what you control. People are listening. Feed them up the content to drive consideration. All right, this was something we all posted. We were doing a virtual conference on presenting your best online. So the image was fine. And then I wrote this. People are surprised to find out I'm an avid Toastmaster. I'm in fact a co-founder of my club. And during the pandemic, we moved meetings online and we will continue to meet virtually. So we're having an open house. I'm so jazzed. Come join us. And there were lots of new people on the line. I'd have to ask the VP of membership what we converted that day, but I know we did get new members. And that was all 4 of the speakers sharing across all their networks. Really easy to do. I hope you're being inspired. The one that I got the most traction from, I think ever in history, 26,000 post views, was when I went back a year later and said I pulled up my big girl panties. I went to bat again. And this time I was met with success, and I am now an accredited speaker. And I talked about what I learned and getting over my stung feelings, growing up and adulting and getting after it. And people really, really resonated. 337 reactions, 225 comments. Thank you, Declan, for the time reminder. I'm watching it. We're coming in close. So it's the personal sharing of why you're a member, what you gain from it, upcoming events that you'll be at. You can even say, I'm so bummed to miss our next open house, but I'm sharing in case you can attend. It's a great way to learn X, Y, and Z, where you make up X, Y, and Z as it fits your voice. All right, oops. Try writing one about today's meeting in the chat. Super fast, super fast. First to bat wins my deep admiration and gratitude. Anybody want to just write a potential status update for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn using today's annual conference as the subject matter? What can you say? I'm counting on Flash Morgan. She looks like she's focusing. Blessed to be hearing Sima's message at D101. Well, I love it. I love it. Couple things. I don't know where you were going to post that. If it was on Facebook and you tagged me, that'd be great. But don't forget the word Toastmasters. Nancy, let's be hearing Sima's message at Toastmasters District 101 Conference for all those people who don't yet speak Toastmasters. And AJ, learning on fire. Yes, you got a little bit more space. You could take a screenshot of, all the smiling faces. I know it's hard. So many people are off camera, and say, this is just a snapshot of what an amazing annual conference the Toastmasters District 101 hosted today. I learned so much from. You can tag the speakers, but there's no need to give away your status. I'm thrilled you want to share it with me, but you don't have to. You can just say, I've been a Toastmaster for 10 years and I never ceases me that I ceases to amaze me. I keep learning something new or whatever. Okay? Happy to be supporting the District 101 Annual Conference as their tech chair. Excellent. Carrie Lynn, even more impressive if you want to be doing tech stuff behind the scenes in the future. Otherwise, you can just say you're volunteering to produce the show if you don't want to do tech stuff. Do you see how that's just a little different? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna bring it home. Here's my quick Q&A. Ready? How often should I post? Depends on the platform. For a while, I was in a daily or every other day habit on Facebook. Instagram for me was like once a week, more if I was at Lollapalooza. LinkedIn once every 7 to 10 days. I let it hang there. Takes people time to catch up, to engage. Takes me time to respond to the people who engage. 3 times to 4 times a month on LinkedIn. Facebook, don't go dark. People will forget you're alive and Facebook won't surface your post to anybody. So just find a rhythm. If it's a couple times a week, once a day, you start posting to Facebook 7 times a day and I'm dying, okay? I had to mute a cousin for that reason. Mute, you're just updating too much. And Twitter, I schedule most of them. I rarely live tweet anymore because Twitter is a time stealer for me, so I have to be careful. Okay, what can the VP of PR do to support these efforts? Okay, make sure the photos easily post to social media. There's different sizing. You can Google this stuff. What size do I need for Instagram, for Facebook, for LinkedIn banners, whatever, right? Gentle reminders over email. Hey, friends, don't forget to use your social status updates to promote our open house. June 16th, here's the link. You can go one step further and even draft some copy. I used to do that when I was the social media chair of the American Marketing Association and the Business Marketing Association. I'd say, here's a LinkedIn post or 3. Here's a couple tweets. Here's something you can make your own. Make it your own, but here's the idea for Facebook. All right, so you can do that and then reinforce when you see us doing the right thing, give it a thumbs up, like it. Add a girl, I'll be there too, whatever. And you know, that's kind of, the graphics are easy, the reminders take a little bit more time, sample copy more time still, reinforcement can get onerous, but it is a best practice. Should we shut down our club's social media? Well, I don't know, should you? Is it stagnant and stale? Is it onerous? Does the owner change every single year and there's no continuity? Is it working in any way, shape, or form? You tell me and do what feels right. I tell a lot of business clients, get off Twitter. What are you doing? It hasn't been updated in 3 years. So just be intentional. And how will I know if it's working? Because you'll have new members. That's why. We get new members this way, you will too. That's how you know it's working. So your mission is to optimize your own digital footprint, stitch in Toastmasters wherever it makes sense on whatever platform you're on, and then use your status updates to drive interest in the community of Toastmasters and certainly to promote your club. Not every second of every day, but with a frequency that feels right to you based on your level of involvement. Remember, you cannot get from the universe that which you're not willing to ask for. These subtle updates and these status updates, it's an ask. You're asking people, you're daring them almost, ask me about Toastmasters. And with that, I'm ending a minute left. I'm going to look at the chat, see if there's, oh, Mildred, that's a great one. Enjoying my time at District 101 conference today. I'd still sneak the word Toastmasters in there. Staying inside away from the forest fire smoke. Oh yeah, you got the smoke up there. Know your ellipses and be known. I love it. All the way from PH. Oh dear, how far is PH? Where are you, in the Philippines or, yes, hi Direne, outstanding. Okay, back to you, Declan, or am I handing it back to you?
I will accept it.
Thank you, sir.
You say thank you to me. What can I say to you? But before I talk about you, Sima, earlier today, Darren LaCroix gave us a tutorial about how to create unforgettable speeches. We have just seen a demonstration from you how to create and deliver an unforgettable workshop on personal branding and on social media leverage. By the way, I also loved your interaction in real time with this audience. You ensured thereby that you met the needs of the most people possible in real time. That's an interesting way to do it. I've learned a little bit about a topic I didn't expect to learn about today. But thank you for getting us anchored in personal branding initially. I find that very helpful, and showing us how our personal brands then have the power to invite, to persuade, to even seduce others to, well, to do whatever we want, to grow our career, to promote our business, or to encourage others to join our Toastmaster clubs. Your tips on how we can promote and evangelize Toastmasters in this increasingly digital age are so practical and so doable. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, by leveraging or aligning our own personal brand. I loved your reminder to be disciplined. We have to be disciplined in this medium, but how to maintain our profiles and make them consistent with, I think you said, our brand stories. And you have shown us how to manage how the world sees us, how the world sees who we are, what we do in this world, on this planet, and in many ways, what makes us different, or dare I say it, special. Beyond all of that, Sima, you've taught an old engineer some new tricks that I will begin to exercise. I'm going to look for your slides because you're a fire hose of great ideas. There's so much stimulation there. So in summary, I want to offer an inadequate but a very sincere thanks to you for being generous with your time here today and, of course, with your knowledge. You've helped this division, District 101, I beg your pardon, you've helped District 101. You've helped us to envisage how we might leverage these ideas. And you've offered us all ideas how we can transform ourselves as well as our clubs. Personally, I'm no longer terrified of social media, and I might just be able to tame this social media beast as a result of this. I'd like to ask Carolyn to take us all off mute so that we can express our appreciation to Sima.
What a summary. Thank you, Declan. That's really makes my day.
Great. So let's offer an auditory response to what we've heard today.
Thank you for being such an engaged and wonderful audience. It makes the time fly. If you learned one thing that you put into practice for yourself or your club, I'm thrilled. I'd love to hear about it. By all means, feel free to send me a note of your successes and connect with me online, and then we can help each other learn as we continue to grow. Thank you very much.
Please come back.
I would love to.
Yeah, come back tomorrow. Some questions for you will occur overnight.
Okay. I'm gonna let Lance wow you next, and I'm gonna duck out. And with much gratitude in my heart, it was a privilege and it was an honor. And Declan, I'll partner with you anytime. I wish I could take you with me. All right.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Now, we are not done yet. Is Lance with us?
Right
Are you
here.
on this call? Oh, there you are. You're right in the middle of my screen, Lance. So let's move ahead with the next section of this, of our D101 conference. I have to go find your intro. Don't worry, Lance. If I can't find it, I'll find something very much like it. In 2014, I joined Toastmasters. And after a few weeks, I made my icebreaker speech. And as soon as I finished that speech, my mentor shoved some pages at me and said, "You need to do an evaluation next. and Lance Miller will tell you how to do it. What? I hadn't even been in Toastmasters a wet day. Don't even mention atmospheric rivers. And people were already telling me what to do. And I remember thinking, who is this guy, Lance Miller, anyway? Well, let me tell you about Lance Miller. Lance is an award-winning speaker and a trainer. He has delivered over 5,000 speeches in over 80 countries. Remember, pre-COVID, he traveled there in person. And he is Toastmasters 2005 World Champion of Public Speaking. And by the way, I have validated this. It's not fake news. Now, outside of Toastmasters, Lance is CEO of TerraX, providing sustainable technologies to the agricultural, commercial, and industrial markets. When I read this, it occurred to me that Mark cares about our planet. In 1999, he was instrumental in building his home club, Renaissance Speakers, to some 95 members and the #4 Toastmaster club in the world. Renaissance Speakers has continued to be one of the top 50 clubs worldwide based on membership and educational achievement. He has worked with over 80 districts around the world, helping Toastmasters win with Toastmasters. And that's an interesting expression. Today, he will share some real-life, hands-on actions to create a successful, dynamic club culture, how to build membership, how to handle difficult people. I'm going to particularly pay attention there, Lance, and how to get the show on the road. He has delivered this seminar at the 2006 and the 2014 Toastmasters International Conventions. I think you would agree, adequate prep to talk to us today. Please join with me in welcoming Lance Miller. Over to you, Lance.
Thank you, Declan. Thank you very much. It's great to see District 101. Again, you were the first district that I ever spoke to with 3 digits. So, and I'd like to give a shout out to AJ Heron, who's a member of my club. And AJ, great to see you on the call today. And any of you that care to, you're welcome to turn your cameras on so I can see you. I don't know. Well, first of all, I need to give you my disclaimers. My disclaimers are I'm not politically correct. So I will tell you what I feel needs to be done, and it may not go the way that a lot of messages go in Toastmasters. And I also don't pull my punches. I think in order to get down to the bottom of things, we got to be able to talk about the problems we have. And one of the problems we have is that some well-meaning individual in Toastmasters felt that seminars and contests needed to be around all the cameras off, and I have no idea why that was. I totally disagree with that. I'd like to see my audience. Anyway, that being said, yes, as Declan said, in 1999, Renaissance Speakers ranked the #4 club in the world in Toastmasters, and a lot of people don't know what that means because we had a different distinguished club program back then that actually ranked us internationally, and I really liked that program because that program is what built my club. I will also just tell you right up front, nobody does this by themselves, and I certainly did not do it by myself. We had a very large team, and by 1999, it wasn't a group of members or leaders that wanted to do it. The whole club wanted to be a top 10 club. And that's one of the things that I've seen in my club. And, you know, it's interesting. I've gone all over the world talking about Toastmasters and trying to share with the membership in this organization some of the jewels I've gotten out of it. And I see a lot of people in Toastmasters, I think they get 20 or 30% of the experience because in a lot of ways, they're trying to be good Toastmasters instead of using the program for what it can be. And from my standpoint, they don't play the game hard enough. That's just the simplicity of it. And there's no reason that every club in Toastmasters doesn't have 30 to 40 members in it, other than the fact that we don't get off our butts and get 30 to 40 members in our club. And I know what I talk about because I joined Toastmasters in 1992, and by August of 1993, we had 35 members in our club. We had about 12 coming to a meeting, and we met one week and we had coffee because we had 5 people show up. So I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody, but I just want to let you know there's no special cloth that we're cut out of, or we have a certain DNA swab that nobody else has. And there were 5 of us sitting around having coffee, and we went, what are we going to do with the club? You know, we can close it. We're going to rebuild it. And what I remember from that meeting was that somebody said, look, we're going to do Toastmasters, let's win with Toastmasters. Or let's go do something else and win with it. Because I don't want to sit here, and I've sort of altered this, but I call it, I don't want to run a hospice Toastmasters club. You know, it's hospice Toastmasters. That's where we keep the club comfortable until the member, or the members comfortable until the club dies. Okay. And there's a lot of clubs. Most of the clubs in Toastmasters are under 20 members. They're in their survival mode. They're trying to get people in, and everything. So, and actually somebody else said, well, they have this ranking system in Toastmasters, and let's be a top 10 club. And we didn't know what that was. It's a little bit like saying, let's be a world champion in public speaking. Okay, that sounds cool. And you have no idea what you're getting involved in. But we started working on the club to actually achieve the DCP points. And back then we had a distinguished club program that gave us points for everything we did, for every newsletter, for every new member, for every educational completion. And it took 5 years to build the club. And in the process of that, I'll tell you, I learned a lot of things about running an organization. And I learned a lot of things about motivating people. I learned a lot of things about handling weird people, because there's a lot of weird people in Toastmasters. No insults to anybody. But there are people in Toastmasters that could not belong to any other organization, and we accept them with open arms. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But and to their benefit, they benefit from the program, you know. And some of them have 17 DTMs, and they can't speak or lead their way out of a wet paper bag, but they got 17 DTMs, and they wear them to every meeting, and stuff. And as my grandmother would say, God bless them. You know, it's like their life is improved because of us. But I learned so much that is not, and here's the point, that is not in the Toastmasters manual. And that's the point I want to make, is that when we wanted to turn our club around, there was no manual on how to do it. And what I wound up learning about myself and learning about other people was the ability to figure things out for myself and how to make them work. Now, I'll give you my experience on this, and I don't know if this is like your experience or not, but I think as human beings, we get conditioned into sitting there and shutting up. And for a large part of my life, and trust me, I mean, I've always been pretty outgoing and things, but this still affected me. You know, when I was a kid, I had these things, I don't know if you had them, they were called parents. Okay. And, you know, one of the things my parents told me to do was sit down and be quiet. And they usually didn't say at dinner time, Lance, why don't you give us an original thought there? You know, why don't you speak out and interrupt somebody? That usually was not the encouragement I got. Then I went to this institution. I don't know if any of you went to it. It's called school. And at school, I learned what seat to sit in at what time. And I learned how to study what other people figured out. And I learned if I did what the authorities, what the big people did, that I got to go to the next grade. And if I did speak out and I didn't sit in the seat at the right time, that I had problems in life. And I spent 7th grade, my math class, in the hall, doing table topics with my principal, quite honestly, because for some reason I wound up talking a lot in math class. I don't know. So I kept getting relocated to the hall. But there's this thing called work I got to go to. And at my job, I was told what seat to sit in. Show up on time, don't rock the boat. And if we like you someday, we'll promote you. And what happened to me was, and this was very frustrating to me, I felt like my life direction, my personal drive in life was given up to somebody else to decide when I got to advance. And this was quite a conflict I had within myself. And there's a long sordid story to it. I won't bore you with that, but I stumbled into Toastmasters, and I'm going to give you your Toastmasters membership recruiting tip right now. And I always find it's interesting to find out everybody got in Toastmasters. Here's how I got in Toastmasters. I had a friend of mine ask me to come to the club 8 times. And I saw him almost every week, and he didn't say, Lance, you're a horrible speaker. You drool, you're full of ahs. He didn't say that. He kept saying, we had so much fun. He was so enthusiastic about, and I didn't know what Toastmasters was, about Toastmasters. And I went to the meeting 2 times for 2 reasons. One reason was I wanted to see what it was Glenn was so excited about. And the second reason was I wanted Glenn to quit asking me to come to the club. And I knew if I went to the club and said, I don't want to join, thank you, that he would quit asking me. But it was very apparent he was not going to quit asking me until I went to the club. And of course, like the rest of us on this call, we wound up in a Toastmasters club and said, this looks like something interesting. And I joined. And I certainly didn't join because I thought I was going to build one of the most successful clubs in the world. I'm going to be a world champion speaker. It looked like something fun to do. And I wanted to develop those skills. It looked like a fun group of people. And that's pretty much how I joined the organization. As a matter of fact, when I joined Toastmasters, I didn't even know there was another Toastmasters club in the world. I just knew it was this club I went to. And we had a competition that came up about 2 months after I joined, and they talked about the area. And I go, what's the area? I mean, it was just like, and I don't want to sound like I was stupid. I was probably ignorant, but here's the point. I am now today a world champion speaker. I have been part of a group that built one of the most successful clubs in Toastmasters. I've been all over the world helping districts build Toastmasters. And I had to be asked to join the organization 8 times. So Sima gave a great aspect to social media, which is fine, but nothing replaces personal communication. Nothing replaces friendship. Nothing replaces that personal reach. And whenever we do a survey in our club to find out how members got in, 90% of the members got in because they knew a member who invited them to the club. So, one of the things is just being relentless in that area. So what I'm going to do here, I've been going at this for about 10 or 12 minutes right now. I'm going to go over some specific points that we did in my club that are really part of the Toastmasters program. And they're going to be under this umbrella that I call "We Figured It Out for Ourselves." And I'm going to walk through a little PowerPoint on where I see some of the problems are. And I think I know what I talk about because we had them in our club and we overcame them. And I've started, I think, 6 or 7 clubs myself. But I've worked with entire districts to turn them around. I've worked with a number of clubs. And what I see in Toastmasters is that, like I said, a lot of people come in the organization and we get rewarded in life for following the rules. And when I was in school, you were a good boy if you followed the rules. And if you didn't follow the rules, you were always in trouble. And, I always laugh. I said, when you were a kid, you could burn the house down and it was okay as long as you followed the rules. But for those of us that want to break out and live our life and be the authors of our own life, we have to figure out how to get around this authority thing that's always coming in saying we're waiting for someone to say it's okay for us to succeed. And this was something that I struggled with, but I used the Toastmasters program for it pretty extensively on trying for myself what worked and figuring it out in Toastmasters. And then I took it out in life. Now, like I said, I never joined the organization to be a great Toastmaster. I joined the organization to work on skills so I can be better at living life. And quite honestly, I am a great Toastmaster because I love the program and I use it extensively. I still use it to this day, but I consider it a little bit like going to the gym and exercising my muscles so that I can run through an airport and carry my luggage and I don't pull my back out. And if there's a problem, I'm strong enough to do what I need to, and I need to speak out. And I get to speak all the time. Quite honestly, Declan was just saying, I'm CEO of this sustainability company. I launched this right before COVID. And I had a complete lack of working capital, but I had the confidence I could do it. And I didn't launch it on social media. I launched it by walking out and shaking hands with people and going to Rotary meetings and going to Chamber of Commerce meetings and talking to people and finding where the problem was because I had the communication skills to do that. And the network I had to work with it. And I got that because of all the skills I got in Toastmasters. And to this day, we're right at the cusp of having national distribution in our product lines. It's an amazing set of dominoes we've got set up to fall as soon as we're moving towards it. I could have never done that without getting the confidence I had in Toastmasters and the soft skills I have in Toastmasters of figuring it out for myself. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump over, then I'm going to open this up to questions in probably about 15, 20 minutes. Philip, I'm going to pop up on the screen here so I can walk you through in a logical manner what I'm talking about. So this is building a championship club. Now, here's one of the things I've noticed, and I want you to think, does this exist in your club? Just look at it. Does it exist? I'm not a member. I'm a member of Toastmasters International. I am not an executive. I'm a member just like you are, working to make my club work. That's what I'm doing. So there's something in the club. When I joined the club, I thought the people ahead of me were smarter than I was about Toastmasters. So if there was a problem, I would go, well, they should solve the problem. I didn't think I should solve the problem. Well, the problem was the people ahead of me were looking at the people ahead of them, thinking they should solve the problem. So we have something in Toastmasters I call an SEP. If you've ever read Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, this is where I got this. It's somebody else's problem. So when there's problems in the club, everybody's looking around going, somebody should solve that. But nobody goes, I should solve the problem. This is the first thing I saw in our club that turned it around. And this was that nobody owned the club. Everybody was thinking somebody should take care of it because we were all used to this bigger authority always being there, be it our parents, our teachers, our boss. Somebody should solve the problem. Well, you know what? There is no higher authority in your club than you. That's it. And so we had to start looking around and we started solving the problems. I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that we did. Okay. Let's see, what was my next slide here? Oh, yeah. So in life, when we're young, we have this huge thing called free will. You remember when Saturday lasted all day? You'd get up and you're like, it's Saturday, and I would just, I wake up now and I blink and it's Monday morning. What happened? Well, when I was a kid, life was exciting. I could have a box and a stick and I could create all sorts of stuff with my imagination and I could think about things and it was like everything was cool. And then what happens as I go through this socialization process and I'm told to sit there and be quiet, excuse me, I wind up getting hypnotized by authority. Now, I don't know any way around this. I mean, we all have to be socialized. We all have to learn to get along. We all have to learn to be a team member. Excuse me just a second. But we are successful in life as we maintain our free will behind our purposes. And what I see, like I said, with a lot of people in Toastmasters is they join the club and they go, I showed up on time. I sat in the right seat in the club. Why isn't the club succeeding? Well, the reason the club's not succeeding is because you don't make a Toastmasters club succeed by sitting on your butt in a chair. You make a Toastmasters club succeed by getting out of the chair, getting your butt in gear. And that's how you make it succeed. So the secret was that I hate these PowerPoints, Declan. I put these things in here. The meaning of life is you have, technology. What's that supposed to? The meaning of life is you have to figure it out for yourself. Okay. I like it. That works better when I'm live, not online. So the whole thing is taking this club and figuring out how to make the club work. And at the time, back in the 90s, I'm in District 52 down in LA. We had one of the worst districts in Toastmasters. And we actually, one year, nobody ran for district governor. That was how bad the district was. So we didn't look to the district to try to solve our problems. We said, let's figure out how to make the club work. And so we just started looking at it and working with it. Now, one of the things we did, I'm going to pop out here just for a second so you can see me, is that we had 35 people in the club. We had about 12 coming to the meeting. There was no manual on how to get those members back. So we sat down and we had this crazy idea. I mean, this is nuts. We said, let's call them up. Let's ask them what they liked about coming to the club. So we split up the names. Those of us called, we met the next week. We said, well, here's what he said. We tabulated what they said. You know what the number one reason people said they liked to come to the club? It was to have fun. And the number two reason was they wanted to see their friends. Number three reason was they wanted the Toastmaster skills. And we saw immediately why our club was failing is we stopped being a fun and friendly club. We had two presidents in a row who were a little draconian in their actions, like fining people and telling people that speeches are pass fail. And if you don't hit it, you got to do it again until you get it right. Nobody's going to be a competent speaker in in this club unless you're competent. And there were some crazy things that were going on. And so what we did, we made sure that we maintain a fun, friendly environment, because if it's not fun and not friendly, we lose membership. The next thing was we wanted to come up in the rankings. So we had to figure out for ourselves, how do we do that? So we ask every member to complete a speaking level every year. Now, there's nothing in Toastmasters that says get every member to complete a speaking level every year. But we wanted the points. But here's what happened in the club is that when we got people to speak frequently, remember I said Toastmasters is a little bit like the gym? If you've ever gone to the gym, imagine you haven't gone to the gym for 10 years and you go to the gym for one day. How do you feel? You're sore. And what if you say, I'm so sore, I'm not going to the gym for 6 months? Well, a lot of people stand up and they give a speech and they haven't spoken for years and they're going, I'm nervous. Well, I'm not going to speak for 6 months. Well, you just lost any gain you got from speaking that one time, just like when you went to the gym. You know, if you go to the gym, you got to go to the gym 3 days a week for maybe after 3 or 4 weeks, you start feeling the muscles, you get through the stiffness. Well, the same thing happens with speaking. But when we got our club members speaking frequently, they started keeping the gain and they started getting better and they started to get more confident and they started to become more competent. And they got what I call the twinkle in the eye and the spring in the step. And they started holding their head higher, because what we do in Toastmasters is we revive the dead. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. These people come in under this little huddled shell of a person and they can't answer a table topics question. And 6 months later, you can't shut them up. They're more alive than you've ever seen. But no, really what we do is we give people the ability to get the thoughts out of their head and they come alive. And every one of us has experienced that. Every one of us has experienced feeling and more ourselves, more alive in Toastmasters. And we did that by getting frequent speaking. There was nothing in the manual that said to do that. We figured that out for ourselves. As our club grew, we started to grow. We went from like 7,500 is where we were. The first year we were, I think, like 98 because we filled the forms out. The next year we were 56. The next year we were 28. The next year we were 14. We almost made it. And then finally in 99, we were number 4. We had 95 members. I can pop in this. We couldn't service. We have a 3-hour weekend meeting, just so you know. But we have 6 speakers at the meeting, but we had to come up with extra speaking slots. There's nothing in Toastmasters that says make sure you have enough speaking slots to make sure every member in your club can get through 10 speeches in a year. We figured that out because we wanted our members winning. We wanted the points. We wanted to have this accomplishment, that was going on. Where we wound up with the VP of Education post was so overwhelmed trying to schedule everybody and do the education, we added another post called the Vice President of Production, who did all the scheduling, and the Vice President of Education did all the education monitoring. But we wanted both. We had to figure this out. We wanted both of them to get credit for being an officer. So what we do is we let one be the VPE for on the paperwork for 6 months. And the second 6 months, we put the Vice President of Production on as VPE, but they kept the same post during the year, so they both got credit. What I'm talking about here, we figured out how to do it. And that's the point. None of this is in the manual. Nothing. As a matter of fact, there were members in my district that when we got a club that big, kept trying to cut us in half and split us. And we had to say, no, they don't want to join a Toastmasters club. People want to join our Toastmasters club. You cut us in half, you kill the club. I have had clubs around the world that have gotten over 100 that call me and say the district's trying to split us up. I said, don't do it, but figure it out. How do you handle it? Your club should spin off a new club every year. Take 10 members and form a new club for the district, and they're still a member of your club, but you have 10 members that form a new club. Every year, you give the district a new club. Now the district's in line with you being a big club. Let's figure out how to make it work. And what happened, and this is like people don't show up on time, the meetings don't start on time, everything to do with Toastmasters, we had to start figuring out how to make it work. Table topics, calling order, because we have 30 minutes of table topics in our club. And we had a certain calling order where the members that don't have any assignment get called first, the functionaries next, the coaches next, and then the people that have speaking assignments next, because you get a table topics master up there and they call on a speaker. And then somebody else doesn't get an opportunity to speak. We wanted everybody to speak at every meeting. That was one of the components. And then we went to 2 meetings a week. And I had members of my district back then that said, you can't do 2 meetings a week. And I said, yes, the Toastmasters, we have the rules. It says you can occasionally have a second member meeting. They go, well, that's not an occasional. That's not occasional. I argued for 6 months with my, on the definition of the word occasional, but I never stopped delivering to the club. Okay, let's look at a couple other things we figured out, and then we'll open it up to some questions. So we figured out for ourselves, I consider Toastmasters a little bit like Home Depot. I think you've gotten this point. You can go to Home Depot and get all the parts to build your house, but they won't come build your house for you. And you think somebody was pretty stupid if they're sitting in their driveway in their lawn chair with a bunch of lumber, and you go, Joe, what are you doing? I'm waiting for Home Depot to come put up my garage. They go, they don't do that. You got to swing the hammer, dude. Well, that's what Toastmasters is like. They give us the tools to build the club. We got to build it. The game in Toastmasters, it took me a while to figure this out. Every game has a beginning and an end. And when we started playing to come up in the rankings, we played this game for blood. The beginning and the end, it goes from July 1st to June 30th. That's the Toastmasters year. And it consists of getting members in the club and getting those members through their educational. That's really what it is. It's members in, members educated. Now, I'm going to pop out just for a second on this point because we had a problem when we got pathways, because we used to have, we had a number of problems. A lot of our members didn't like pathways. I had members that wanted to quit because of pathways. I'm not a big fan of pathways, but we have it. Okay, so, you know, it's a horse we got to ride right now. So the problem is that before we used to have 10 speeches in any speaking level. Now we had these different levels and they weren't all the same number of speeches. So when I was trying to program out the club for the members to win and the members to get the achievement they needed, you know, I didn't have any standard set of speeches I was trying to get someone to do. Last year, I was president of my club for the 3rd time. So what I did, I came up with a competent Renaissance speakers game. And what worked before was having the speakers do 10 speeches a year. We call it coaching in my club, not speech evaluation, because we try to coach you to a higher level. So we have speech coaching. Nobody hires an evaluator, they hire a coach. So what I did, I said a competent Renaissance speakers game was 10 speeches. You coach 10 times. You were one of the 5 functionaries, at least during the year. And then you were the Toastmaster, general evaluator, and table topics master once per year. That's 28 positions. And then we played that game internally. We got all of our education completions, but what it did, it allowed the club to focus on what they could do rather than trying to figure if they're level 3 or level 4 or what's going on and how many projects they've got and what they're doing. So everybody was just moving along on our competent Renaissance speakers program. Now, here's the other thing I did. I had members that were going to quit because of pathways. And I said, no, you're a valuable member. They've been in the club 25 years. You know, you've got incredible speech coaches and stuff. I said, you don't want to speak pathways? Speak out of your old competent communicator manual. Tell the VPE, we're going to count it as a pathway speech. You just work the manual. Okay. Now, here's the point. Probably somebody at Toastmasters International is rolling over in their desk right now. Okay. But the point is, what's important is my members are winning and my members are getting benefit from the club, not that I'm doing a program that some nitwitted executive at Toastmasters International sent down that doesn't make any sense. What matters is my members are winning in the club. Now, what happened with those people is they did 4 or 5 speeches out of the CC manual and they started in the Pathways program. Now, here's what I'm going to just say. Everything in Toastmasters you will learn from. When you're a speaker, you learn to speak. When you're a speech evaluator or a coach, as we say, you learn how to coach people. You learn how to listen. You learn how to give feedback. When you're table topics master, you learn how to create good, interesting questions. When you receive a question in table topics, you learn how to think on your feet. When you receive, you're a Toastmaster, you learn how to run a meeting. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more in just a minute. But let's look at this. What if you get a bad speech evaluation? How many bad speech evaluations do you think I've had in Toastmasters? Here's what you get. You get to learn how to receive a bad evaluation from someone and not let it ruin your life. How many times at work or how many times out in the world has somebody come up and evaluated me and told me how I was less than what was expected? Story of my life, okay? Okay, in Toastmasters, I learned how to listen to what people were evaluating on me and taking the valuable parts and discarding the rest of the stuff that was ridiculous. Those are vital, important skills you need to keep your head above water and to keep your head in a good, positive mental frame instead of letting all these negative comments we get take us down. It's a great learning environment no matter what we do. Okay, a couple more points here. I'm going to walk through the slide. I'm actually team structure. It's nothing. I figured this out in 1997. I've got a lot of organizational design background. So I'm going to walk this relatively quick. The sergeant at arms, I had to figure out, here's the thing in Toastmasters. We go to district training and they put us all in different rooms and teach us how to be the officer, but they never put us on the field together and say, here's how you work as a team. Now, if you had a football team, do you think you could win the Super Bowl by never practicing as a team? So I had to figure out how to make my team work. So the sergeant at arms basically creates a functioning meeting space. And this is how we and starts the meeting on time. That's what we expect the sergeant at arms to do. The vice president of public relations is one of the worst trained positions in Toastmasters because they say you need to put out a press release and you put out a newsletter, but there's no tangible result from that. This really should be the vice president of promotion and marketing is what it should be. You promote the club, you market the club to create guests. So in our club, the vice president of public relations is responsible for getting guests to the meeting or running programs that the membership brings guests to the meeting. The guest comes to the meeting, experiences Toastmasters like all of us have. We came and we experienced it. And then at the end of the meeting, we always said, what do you think of the meeting? And they go, well, I wouldn't mind becoming a member. So they see the vice president of membership. Vice president of membership is, they get the number of new members in. They collect all the paperwork and they get the check and they give it to the treasurer. And the treasurer banks the money and they keep accurate financials. And then it goes to the vice president of education and they get the person through their education completions. This is the most difficult position, I think, in the club. And the secretary just takes care of all the accurate records. They make sure everything is being recorded so we know what's happening each week. Now, if we do a good job with the VPE, the person wins. They get the twinkle in the eye, they get the spring in the step, and they turn around and bring more guests to the meeting. Now, that's what happened in our club. Once we got up to about 35, 40 members, we started having a regular inflow of guests because we had our members winning. It's like a good movie. They just are coming out with My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 or something like that. You know, when that movie came out, it had no promotional budget. I saw it the first week it came out. I must have told 50 people, you got to go see this movie. It's hysterical. That's what your Toastmasters club is like. If people come to your Toastmasters club and have a great time, they go, you got to come to this club, like Glenn did with me. He was so enthusiastic about the club. He was just telling people about it because they had a great time with it. Then you have your president, and the president's responsible to keep the members winning, which means they're moving through their programs. You're also keeping the toxic people at bay, and you're expanding the club. That means you have more members and more education completions at the end of the year than at the beginning of the year. The other thing is you help your officers. I really learned how to be an executive the first time I was president of my club. And it was the first time I got to run an entire organization without some higher authority countermanding the things I was trying to do. You want to make sure your vice presidents are winning on the job for two reasons. The first reason is they should have a positive experience as a Toastmasters vice president of whatever they are. They should benefit from it. It should be an internship where they develop skills. They should get the benefit of the Toastmasters program. The second reason you make sure that your executives are winning is that if they don't do their job, you're going to get it. And if you want to have a horrible time as president, have a bunch of officers that don't do their job. You're scheduling the meetings. You're trying to get, if you're signing up the new members, you're balancing the books, you're collecting the dues, you're doing everything yourself, and you're going to have a horrible time as president. So I really learned to make sure I had a lot of communication on a weekly basis with all my officers every time I'm running my club, making sure they're winning and when they're happy and that we're getting the stops off the line. If there's a problem, we're solving the problem. Otherwise, I'm going to wind up getting sucked down into the organization and have to do all the work. The other thing is, as president, you're going to run into a problem. You're going to need to get some help because most of us haven't been a senior executive in an organization. First place we get help is inside the club. I get everybody together, say people aren't showing up. We need to get new members. We need to get more education completions. What do? If we can't solve it inside the club, we go outside the club. We go to the top clubs in the area. We have some top people in my club that have been in Toastmasters for past district directors and all. We have a really great knowledge base in the club. But a lot of times your area director has less experience than the president does because they've been in Toastmasters 6 months and they got roped into being an area director. They've never run the meeting before. They've never run a club before. But go to your strong clubs and ask them, what are they doing? How do they solve this? You got a couple strong clubs in the district. Go ask them about that. Personal development. Here's really where the soft skills we developed on this. Communication. We get that through prepared speeches. I've done, what I've done. I did, 36 CCs over the course of my year, and I'm on my 6th level 5. And I can't tell you how proud I am to tell people in the world that I'm a level 5. Anyway, table topics. I got to tell you, I have table topics that saved my skin. Having the skills to answer an unexpected question has saved my skin more than prepared speaking has. That is such an important soft skill, life skill to have. On it. As Toastmaster, you learn communicating, you learn listening by being your coach, your general evaluator, your functionaries. Coaching, you learn how to give good feedback to people so that you actually, that's what I do with businesses I go into. I got to sit down with people, I got to coach them, and I got to get them enthused and inspired. I learned how to do that in Toastmasters, build confidence and train and motivate others. You learn meeting management skills by being running the meeting. As table topics master, it's a little tiny leadership position, a little tiny meeting management position. You get to run the meeting for just a few minutes there. Then you got your leadership skills. You're a club officer. Toastmaster is a leadership skill. You're leading the meeting one time. General evaluator, you're evaluating the meeting. Table topics, the functionaries, a little leadership skills. And all this helps us be a team member. And that's something that's sorely, sorely needed in the world today, is how to work as a team. A couple other points and we'll open up to questions. This is something a member of our club has. These are skills you learn. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'll be here a week on this, but there's skills on every position that you learn, which is the other way around. These are all incredible soft skills. And it's why I call sort of Toastmasters as an internship in running organizations. It's an internship in working with people. Okay. Speaking frequency, as I said, this is where my club turned around. So I want to give you a little formula. This isn't in the books. We ask every member to complete 1 speaking level a year. And really what we wanted was winning members. But if we look at it, if our club training capacity, if we have 4 speakers per meeting and we have one meeting per week, which is 50 weeks a year, we have 200 speaking slots in the year. And if we're going for 10 speeches, let's just say we're going for 10 speeches per speaker, per member, that gives us 20 completions. So that's just some basic math, production math 101 that you can. What we have 300 speaking slots in my club, and the year we were number 4, we had done 570 speeches in the club. That's how many we got through. I'm going to go over this right at the end. I got some tips cards and some stuff for you. So those are some of the things we figured out. And the point I want to just make is that I wanted to be successful in running organizations. I wanted to be successful in working with people outside of Toastmasters. And I came into Toastmasters and I really learned how to inspire people, how to work with people, how to motivate them, how to keep a team together. And my whole career path changed because of Toastmasters. My opportunities I've had in life have changed because I developed the soft skills. It was never about being a great Toastmaster. It was about using Toastmasters to make my mistakes, to screw up, so I didn't make those mistakes out in life. Because in Toastmasters, I got a pat on the back, thumbs up. Out in life, I got a little kick, a little lower than the back, and I didn't get a thumbs up anymore. People didn't want me screwing up on the job. So I needed to develop those skills to have the confidence. So Declan, let's do this. Let's take some questions if anybody has it. How long are we going? Do we have an hour or what?
We have an hour, so we go to about 2:30.
Okay, that's fine.
So we
I have just a little close. I have some training materials I want to share at the end. So just give me a minute to explain those.
No problem, of course. One of the benefits of being the moderator today is I get to ask my questions first. Lance. So this notion of soft skills, particularly the transferable skills, and applying what we learn in Toastmasters in the real world. Now, I know you believe this because I've heard you say it before at other sessions that Toastmasters is a safe environment to make mistakes, to practice, to learn, to develop. However, Toastmasters is a safe environment, but for many people, they continue to be afraid of transferring that into the work environment. Maybe the culture is hostile. How do you help? Any thoughts on helping people overcome that fear of taking what they learn inside to the outside?
Sure, I'll just say what I experienced was that also one of the other things we do in my club is when we start the meeting, we have a section on speakers that spoke outside the club. We acknowledge the people that spoke outside the club in the meeting, and we give an award at the end of the year for the person who spoke outside the club the most. I can let you guess who that is in my club, but but here's the thing. I always look at what is the gradient? What is the next step you can take? And sometimes, you can't take a 40-foot step. You have to be able to take, you got to do 6 inches or something. What step can you take? You can be a contest speaker for an area contest. You can run an area contest. You can run a division contest. You can help out at a district. You can do those things that you start to spread outside the club. There's so many Toastmasters I've seen that they're very insular and secure in the club, and you ask them to speak outside the club and they're going, I would never speak outside the club. I'm going, why are you doing this? But what you do is you get used to maybe going out in front of some unfamiliar audiences. I don't say that they're unfriendly, because Toastmaster audiences are the best audience in the world, really, because everybody has compassion and empathy for you when you're up there. But unfamiliar audiences, so you get your confidence up, and then there's opportunities then to maybe, work with the Chamber of Commerce or work with a Rotary Club or a Lions Club or something, and maybe another safe volunteer environment before you can actually go into your work environment. But just look for those opportunities to continue to push the edge of your comfort zone, because this whole other talk here, but comfort zones are interesting. If you don't push them, they just keep coming in on you. And then you just get this little tiny space. You can't move until you got to keep pushing the comfort zone out there so that you have enough space you're comfortable in.
Great, thanks. Carolyn, if you could enable everybody to speak, that would be great, because I know Lance likes to talk to real people. And there are some of these questions, let's pose them to him from the speakers. So Jim Dennison, you talked about pathways. Maybe you want to pose, because Lance has already expressed a little bit of skepticism about pathways, but he did warn us. He's a straight shooter. He tells it the way he sees it. So, Jim, over to you on your question on pathways.
Well, I guess it's more a question about, well, I'm a part of 3 clubs, and one of the clubs I'm a member of happens to be an advanced club, and the advanced club that I'm part of is having difficulty in terms of attracting members. And what I wanted to know is, do advanced clubs have a different problem than, say, a regular club in terms of attracting members? I say that because the membership that we attract, they've already been through certain aspects of Toastmasters, and most of the new people who clubs try to attract have experienced it before. So for that reason, do you think advanced clubs have a compound issue there?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the issue, Jim. Here's the whole thing with Toastmasters, advanced club or regular club. People stay because of the value they get out of it. And there's a lot of advanced clubs that they have a requirement that you have to have completed some level below before you can come up to them. But what I see is they don't actually offer an additional value to the person over their regular club. And if you're just having somebody do regular, let's say pathway speeches or even competent communicator speeches, and there's not a higher level of expectation, a better professional level of coaching. There's people that came up through the Toastmasters program and now they say, well, we're going to have an advanced club, but they're really not that much different than the regular club. You've got to have something that people want and they feel there's a real value there. And maybe you can do, 20-minute presentations. You're working on people with keynotes. You're working on people with TEDx talks. People want to have professional speaking, so you have a really, you're bringing in outside talent to actually, speak at the club, different world champions and stuff, that you're really offering something of a unique value to the member of that club versus I've seen a lot of Toastmasters clubs that call themselves an advanced club. And I said, I go to the club and I don't see anything that's really that advanced to them. Now, I don't know how your club is, never been to it, but it comes down to the value of what you're offering. And that's what I'm saying, figuring out how can we put a higher quality spin on this experience than a regular club would be. And then that's what you got to figure out, on what you do. And it could be really cool venues. It could be, we're changing things up, but the person needs to have a different experience, an improved experience over what they're getting at a regular Toastmasters club. The simplicity of it. But the nice thing is you have a very targeted market you can promote to. It's all the other Toastmasters in your districts. We have an advanced club. So it's not like we have the world like other clubs, and stand on the street corner and, hand out tickets to our Toastmasters club and everybody can come. So anyway.
Thank you.
Great,
You're welcome.
thanks for that question, Jim. It's interesting, that question was posed the question on Pathway was posed by Karen. So let me allow Karen to ask the question directly. Karen, over to you.
Thank you so much for that. Lance, I appreciate how you gave a great suggestion on getting members who are resistant to pathways. We've had 2 really foundational cornerstone members leave Toastmasters because they don't like pathways. So I like the idea of letting people continue on with legacy and then giving them credit for it. But can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm going to say that the majority of our members are still resistant to pathways. So what else can we do to acclimate them, make them more familiar, make them more comfortable with pathways?
Well, here's what I say is like, look, what's important is you do a speech. It's important you do a speech. It doesn't have to be that you have to do, there's 11 paths that I've got a spreadsheet. Almost all of them are identical except for 2 speeches. I think 5 speeches across 11 paths. I don't want to, here's the point I'll say, I'll just do this. How many times at work, what skill are we learning from pathways? How many times at work do we get an obtuse program that comes down from an executive level and it doesn't make sense at our level, but we have to figure out how to make it work? That's the beauty of pathways. We get this obtuse thing and we have to make it work for our club. I just tell people, look, do a speech that you want to do and we'll count it, and you got the time slot, but you don't have to do this rigid, here's the point I need to do. How many times do I have to do a, introduction to Toastmasters mentoring speech? Every single path, I have to do an introductory to Toastmasters mentoring, and stuff. It's okay. So what do? I do crazy speeches about mentoring or crazy speeches about what happened. Create it. There's no Toastmasters police. Okay. Nobody's going to come arrest you because you did a pathways speech, but it wasn't technically the speech and pathways. There's no SWAT team that's going to come in and take you away. Okay. Have fun with it and just do a speech and do what's in your heart and do what your purpose is in life and just check it off as a pathway speech. That's what I've done on all these programs. It's like, okay, good. I'm just another one. I want to talk about this. I try to put it within the confines of what that project is, right? But I'm not rigid on it. If it doesn't quite meet, the important thing is that I do a speech, that I exercise that voice, that I build that muscle. That's the important thing that's working with us. And so I just open it up and say, let's have fun with it and let's develop your skills and let's make sure you're getting all the full benefit out of the Toastmasters program, the coaching, the meeting management, the whole thing, and let's have fun with it and do what you want that's going to make you happy. And that really turned my club around a lot when I did that. I had a lot of members that just went, oh, okay, great. That's great. I don't know if that helps you, but that's my recommendation.
It helps a lot. Thank you so much.
So next questioner is Arnie. Arnie has his hand up, but I know you, Arnie. You have multiple questions. You only have 1 question to ask here. Please choose.
Oh, it's evil Arnie.
No, I have only 1 question, but it has 3 parts now. Thank you, Mr. Sheldon.
3-part questions.
All the above, Arnie, all the above.
Thank you, sir. One time I heard you say that you wanted to propose some rules to improve Toastmasters. I want to hear those roles, or if there's any role you propose, that's point
Okay,
number
let
one.
me answer that. I've submitted twice a World Championship of Leadership
Okay, okay.
to the top clubs and Toastmasters. It happens at the district level, top clubs in the district, and then it goes on to the international level that we reward the best clubs and Toastmasters. I've got no traction with TI on that whatsoever. I have done it in complete, very detailed. I've run it by all sorts of international directors. I've worked extensively to put something together that fits within the Toastmasters framework. No traction on it whatsoever.
In championship club, how do you define championship clubs? Is it
There's a whole
based on-
DCP and points, okay? We don't have time to get into that, but it's an extensive program based on the old DCP program.
Okay, and the one
Thank
quick
you
one, how do
very
you keep
much,
members?
Arnie. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain.
You're more than welcome. Now, I'm going to bring this to a close because I want to hand this back to Lance.
I've got time for a couple more questions if you want to go to till 2:30, but it's up to you, Declan, on what you want to do.
Oh, all right. We'll take one more question then. Let me see who's.
I'm showing Jimmy Chen and Vivian have their hands up. I don't know if you see that or not, but anyway.
Yeah, let's look at that. Jimmy, do you want to ask your question? Unmute yourself, Jimmy. You're, maybe Caroline, could you help? Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Lance, I want to thank you for the talk. I think you are a wonderful ambassador and a magnet for Toastmasters. So good job for you. But I also believe that not all of us are good ambassador or magnet for Toastmasters. I'm saying this because some of us just better at something. The retail market is very good, picking certain people in sales. So what I'm trying to ask you a question is this: how can we build a club with enough magnets, enough ambassadors to keep the club growing, continue to attract new members, and for the existing members to grow? Or am I totally wrong in thinking that all of us are not all equal?
No, good question, Jimmy. And here's the simplicity. You got an organization, whether what if it was a coffee shop or it was a donut shop you owned, and you go, we got to sell good donuts. I'm not a magnet for selling donuts. You got to survive. You got to figure out how to do that. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to actually lay out. I've got training materials that if you want to, you can pick them up. I got tips cards you can get. I can't get into all the details on it, but it starts with the decision to build it. And that's really what I see. A lot of people never decided to build their club. They sort of show up and they never decided to do it. You know, nothing happens until you decide. And so that's what happened with my club. We decided to build a club to a top 10 club. And we've had a number of times since then we could have failed. But there's a group that has decided, no, this club isn't failing. We've been 10 points President's Distinguished, you know, for the last 23 years. Every year we are, and every year it comes down. Sometimes we need to get 4 new members in, and it's June 15th. Good. We're going to do this, and we figure out how to do it. You know, we go dig up some graves and get the IDs and, pay, subscribe those, go to Louisiana and get the voting records. Anyway, no, we figure it out. So, but anyway, there'll be some material I can share with you if you want to get it. So what else we got, Declan?
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let me just say a few things, if I may, Lance, before I hand it over to you to take your last few minutes. When you said early in the session that your parents said, sit down and be quiet, I personally identified with that a lot. In Ireland, parents say children should be seen, not heard. And the issue I had was that I continued to be not heard for decades. And Toastmasters has been transformational for me. Now, some of the things that you said that really struck a chord with me, there are no TM manuals, Toastmaster manuals for fixing our clubs. Your message of taking ownership of our clubs, identifying why our clubs are not succeeding, asking members why they are here or not here, hit home with me. As leaders, we have to identify the problem, figure it out, use your term, and create those solutions. Now, I enjoyed your authentic and passionate stories. Anybody on this call and anybody that has listened to you before, Lance, knows that you are speaking from real world experience. So much practical advice on display here today. And I know that even if we follow a subset of your advice, we'll be better. I love the idea that you decided in one of your slides or during the session, what was important in terms of educational goals, and then encouraging us to manage the metrics. We all know that if something is important, measure it, because if you measure something, generally you can improve it. I know you think of Toastmasters as part of our personal and professional development. I think you think maybe in many ways they're just not even separable, the way you describe your personal journey, but you conveyed that very effectively to us. And I think it's an important message for us to hear. And lastly, your way of conducting these sessions is highly engaging and very personal. And if you want to give a workshop on watching paint dry, sign me up, Lance, I'll be there. Back to you.
Okay, great. Let me go over some, thank you very much, Declan. That was a very nice summary. And I appreciate that. No, you know, it's interesting. There's something that MBA schools don't teach it. It gets missed. What's our intention to do something? And that comes from in here. What's our intention to make something happen? And how much do we want it? And you look at great athletes, you look at great business people, you look at even, I don't care, politicians, musicians, or whatever, they have a drive or an intention to do something. And as I said, what happens in life, that thing can get thwarted left and right when we're trying to do something. We get into environments, there are toxic individuals that want to see us fail. There are people that they treat us like their boss or their parents treated us. There's all these things, this labyrinth, it's called life. And Toastmasters is this little safe place to get on the horse. And if you fall off, there's some mattresses there for you. You're not going to get hurt, right? But you learn to ride it, then you can get on the thing and ride it in life. I've got some more material. I got to speak to you for about an hour today. Let me just show you some of the things I've got here, if you want to pick them up. And on it, I've got tips cards. I've got a speaking tips card. These are free downloads on my website. I got an evaluation tips card and a Building a Championship Club tips card. And those are on lancemillerspeaks.com. There's free downloads. Every week I send out it's actually a video, a YouTube video, usually about 5 minutes on some speaking tip. Okay, so that's something that you can get. And again, what do I want to talk about today? That's sort of what it is. And the last thing is, I have a bunch of CDs that since COVID hit, I can't sell. Everything's going downloads on my website. So I've got a fire sale I'm doing right now. And this is what I was talking to Jimmy about. I've got a club, Building a Championship Club CD. This was made with Roberta Perry, who's a founder of my club and is also a past international director, on how to build a club culture and really create a winning club together. I've had clubs that have taken this CD alone and built their clubs over 100 members by using it every year. I have another CD on how to promote and market your club. I give you 5 ways to drive. It's not the only ways. It's just 5 ways. You do 2 of them, you're going to get you're going to get guests coming to your club. I've got another one on effective speech evaluation, because that's where the value happens in your club, is that you're giving people good feedback, so they're benefiting, and I talked about that earlier. You got value when you come to the club. I've got another CD called Leadership for a Championship Club, where I go through the officer positions and explain how to use those and how to do those officer positions so your club's well. And then I have a Speaking Secrets of the Champions. I've got 5 world champions, an hour each on this CD. Now, the full price on this is $150, but it's on sale right now for $50 on my website. There's you go to my store and there's a window there and you click it and then I mail it out to you. And as soon as the CDs are gone, I'm done. but I've got plenty right now. But anyway, I'm offering that. But my whole purpose, just, it's interesting. I competed in the World Championship, the International Speech Competition, for 13 years. And I discovered so much about myself in the process of that. But it was a car that I chased for a long time. When I finally caught the car, I went, what do I do now? And I started getting invited out to districts, and they were wanting me to do all the speaking. And I went, I want people I was gonna do this for a year. I said, that I'm gonna do this for a year. I want to help people get out of Toastmasters what I've gotten out of Toastmasters. And that included the leadership side and the club building side and the speaking side. And so I started doing seminars on how to build your clubs and how to do the speaking. And quite honestly, I was the only world champion that had built a really successful club. And so districts found out about it. And I had an 18-year run going around the world, helping Toastmasters figure out how to build their clubs and how to be better speakers. And in the process of that, what we help people become better individuals. We help people achieve their dreams. And I'm not kidding when I say we're a little bit like church. People come to Toastmasters and we revive the dead here. And we see people come back to life. And there's a lot of people that need these skills. And I just want you to know that you can make a difference in the world. You can make a difference in a lot of people's lives, one person at a time, by giving them a voice and giving them the confidence to be themselves. So realize what the purpose is we're doing here. We're really helping our fellow man be better. And by that, we build a better world. So thank you for that. And Declan, thank you for having me come talk to District 101 today.
All right, everybody off mute. Let's give Lance a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we'll come to the end of the day one. And all I need to remind you is that tomorrow is another day of the conference. Join us on the same link that you joined early in the morning, not this link, on the link that you got when you registered. Tomorrow morning, we'll have Lindy McLean deliver a workshop on emotion and expanding your expressiveness. I think I need to listen to Lindy because I think when I was created, I was hiding behind the door when emotion was being doled out. That will be followed by my car workshop, editing for excellence, how to refine your speech like a champion. And Mike is certainly qualified to speak on that. He is, as is Lance, a world champion speaker. And then before we close the conference, we'll have the long-awaited international speech contest starting at around 11:30, and we hope to adjourn around 1:30. So please come back, join us. This audience particularly has been a great audience. And again, Lance, love listening to your stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby. Thank you.
Take
We
care.
love you. We love you.
All right. Everybody have a good day. See you tomorrow. Let's close this meeting.
Hi, everybody.